Going live.
He's got to make his tongue funny colors.
Oh.
It's expected by now.
Gotta make his tongue funny colors. Well, hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Beyond the Wall. This is June 11th, 2014, and we're here tonight to talk about Season 4, Episode 9, The Watchers on the Wall. Certainly one of the big set-piece battle episodes, first since Blackwater. Guess is this the only one since Blackwater where all the action took place in one location?
Yeah, I think so.
Yep. So, I think all of us loved it. Was there anybody that hated it? So we can skip that.
I hate it, but I didn't love it.
Ah, there we go. So we'll see how we go this evening. I did have a couple of shout outs for listeners. Last week we put out a little contest. Had a few people sign up. At first it was just for our crew, where we were going to try to guess what the last scene, the last visual that we get in Season 4 before it fades to black, what's going on. And we put that out to the listeners, viewers, and had 4 or 5 entries. But one gentleman wrote, his name is Mark Bailey, and I thought it was a friend of ours, or a friend, but it's actually a guy from England that listens to the show.
Different Mark Bailey?
A different Mark Bailey.
Oh,
and
loud.
It is?
yeah.
He's going to have to change his name now.
I'm so confused.
Well, what's up with our Mark Bailey then? Does that mean?
I know. I don't know why he's not sending us entries, but no, he said, first off, can I say I love your show? Despite being a book reader, I find your insight highly entertaining and informative. And since I am on, I can also thank the 4 of you for consumption as well. Here in the UK, Almost Human has just started airing, so I'm looking forward to catching up with that.
Aw,
So,
cool.
thanks,
I
Mark,
Hopefully they
for-
run them in the right order.
Yeah.
Hopefully they will show them in the right order, and you won't be...
Spoiler warning, only one season.
Spoiler, don't get too attached.
You get it as attached as you want. Just, be aware that it's a limited time offer.
But it's worth
If he
it.
reads the Song of Ice and Fire, he can...
Well, in the
handle
UK, aren't they more used to that?
Yeah, that's
Series
true.
instead of seasons?
Yeah.
Although this one, I mean, lots of times they're like that by design, though. You know what I mean? So they specifically try to tell a complete story in whatever amount of time, as opposed to leaving it with several things unresolved.
Right. And for the second shout out, I'm going to put up a little image here, and this is actually for a listener only. So Christy, you're going to have to come to the YouTube channel and watch the beginning of this episode. Christy Wilhelm is she lives around me, and she is a judge
Christy.
in Cabarrus
She's
County.
literally a judge.
She is literally a judge, and she was nominated to be a judge, and now she's going to be running for the office this fall. So I'm doing some volunteer work, or going to be doing some volunteer work for her. But she, after a few weeks of being friends with her, this was last year, she's like, "Oh, I love your show," and I'm like, "What?" I didn't even have any idea that she would listen to podcasts at all, and then she is like, she listens every week, and so just wanted to give a big shout out to her, and we hope you enjoyed this episode as well.
Good luck, Judge Christy. Soon to be.
Yeah,
Good luck.
And thank you for listening.
absolutely.
In spite of knowing PG.
I know. That's exactly right about that. So
I'm not sure it shows great judgment.
Yeah, well, we hang out with him too, so she'll probably get along with us at least.
That's
Well, yeah, but
We all
that's assuming
tolerate
that-
him.
I have to make sure I'm in the right county if I have any more legal issues.
Oh, Jesus.
Wait, I can't do that. She wouldn't be able to be my judge on a case.
No,
probably.
but it's
Darn
not
it.
going to be an issue anyways. You're not going to be able to break any more laws.
Any more laws? Thanks.
Hobo, hello, hobo, self-proclaimed hobo.
That's funny. Hobo, sleeping
Statute of limitations.
outside is not against the law.
It's not really. You're sure about that? Sleeping on someone's back porch at a hotel is not illegal.
Never. Anyway, back to the show. So, Watchers on the Wall. Again, we open in Castle Black. I think one of the things we'll probably do some in this episode is since it is such a big thing, we probably will mention some of the things that have changed from the books, just because it's one of those things, you know. But one of the things I think they did very well in this episode was sort of reestablish the place, and we've been there on and off for 4 seasons, but the idea, some of the tracking shots where they're going over the wall and showing the horn right at first, and so the first time we really see the horn, or at least in a long time. I think they did a whole really good job with things like that, showing the elevator and sort of establishing how it worked, as it became more of a plot piece in the episode, that sort of thing. I thought they did a real good job with.
On that note, the engineer in me thought a lot about how does that elevator work, because clearly we see the control mechanism. But given the absence of, electricity or even steam power or anything like that, I don't know how you have counterweights to take it in both directions.
Right.
I think this might be a moment where I would invoke the SpongeBob rule, where when watching SpongeBob with my kids one time, my sister goes, it was my sister, somebody goes, oh yeah, like that would really happen. And I'm like, yeah, a sponge isn't going to live in a pineapple under the sea either, honey. You just have to kind of let stuff go. I know. I'm sorry. Spoiler. Shit. SpongeBob spoiler. It's a
Don't
cartoon.
tell me Patrick the Starfish isn't real.
I will let your relationship
trouble.
with the starfish stay as it is. Patrick. I'm going to say Patrick.
So, yeah, I didn't have a big complaint because it wasn't even an issue with thinking that it doesn't work properly or that it's an error. They just didn't show.
Yeah,
but it did make me curious, because I get curious about that sort of thing.
Oh, see, you take the soul of a young boy.
And you watch his parents get murdered.
That's,
that's a fair point. In fairness, that same thing occurred to me.
I had the same thoughts. Because I could see how it would work one way, but you'd have to crank at least one of the directions. So I was going through the same thing, Christiana.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of
ruined the whole episode.
There were a lot of squirrels behind the boards there, and they were running.
Fire squirrels.
Frost squirrels.
Yeah.
There's several logistical things like that we might mention as we go along, but. Overall, I thought they did a good job of showing things in a logical way that would come into play later in the episode, and not hit you over the head so much with things like they do in some episodes, where it's like, oh, okay, well, that's gonna happen later. I thought that was good. The first scene, which is, I guess, up on the wall between John and Sam, I thought that was, a good scene. They're talking about love and sex specifically for
Poor Sam.
wanting to hear. I like the idea that, or the juxtaposition of last week, where Tyrion and Jamie, their conversation was more about ignoring the elephant in the room and talking about something very trivial, whereas where all these people at the wall are, immediately, faced with possible death, as the Maester says, Maester Aemon says, that nothing makes the past sweeter than, or nothing makes the past a sweeter place to visit than the prospect of imminent death, and talking about love and things like that are important.
On talking about episode 8, I think Viv never got a chance to give her notes.
Oh yeah.
Want to wait to the end or jump in now?
No, we can definitely.
Is that okay?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Before we get into this too deep,
For a tongue check too.
Do what?
Oh, we need a tongue check.
For a tongue check.
Tongue check.
Tongue check. Chooch. Don't ask about the penguin behind him.
I didn't see it.
It's unrelated.
Ooh, nice.
That's Big Tony and Penguini because T is visiting, and I had to make his room cute.
Yeah, I just cut over before you get started too that much there. I cut over to see Kevin Crosby's comment on my hat. The only good Wahoo is a cooked Wahoo.
That's better than the way I read it. So
Yeah.
yeah.
And Nicole, this is the where is it?
Nicole.
The lucky St. Patrick's Day version of our hat. So that's why white is green. White is green. Nicole went to UVA as well. Mike McCauley, greetings, you clever little twats. At least he didn't call us cunts, so that's good.
Hi, Mike.
Yeah. So go ahead. We'll get to.
I was reading them too. So the first thing of my notes was that I had found a really awesome interview with Jack Gleason, which I know is only mildly related to episode 8, but I do want to make sure and get that to PG to share in the show notes. It's about 30 minutes long, and it's like a Q&A at the front of a university classroom or something. I don't know, but it's just there's a lot of really fun stuff that he talks about, and God, you just love him when he's not playing Joffrey. So I'll send that to PG for the show notes.
Is that the one at the end where he goes back to the screen and makes a funny face, where they're showing his dead face on the screen, and he's just making fun of the screen?
I don't remember because I saw it like 3 weeks ago, and I just kept forgetting to mention it. You guys.
Although randomly, Batman Begins was on the TV earlier.
That's right.
And we recognized the little Jack Gleason in there.
Yeah.
Oh, wee Joffrey.
Totally forgot. He was so cute.
So I had Chooch go through and look at them and tell me what not to bother mentioning. The one of the things he didn't mention was from episode 8, not this last episode, but the week before, since I was missing. Sansa and Littlefinger being together, for me it was like game changing, but the really creepy part was the pride that was on Littlefinger's face as she's lying. He's just sitting there and he never changes expression, but he just gets that little creepy grin. And I think that the way that she was able to tell the lies so successfully was because most of it was true. Like the story she was telling was, this was true, that was true, that was true, that was true. Here's a little white lie, and he kissed me and it didn't mean anything, and she jumped. But I mean, I think the reason that she was able to pull off the lie is because so much shit happened to her that was so bad that it just seemed like it all fit together, you know. Yep. Baelish, Royce, and the woman who I don't remember the woman's name at the Erie. I just called her the old hooker. I
think we called her Lady So and So. Is that what
Lady So and
Yeah,
So?
something like
Okay, that's much nicer than the old hooker.
Maybe who cares her name? What's her name? Who cares what's her name?
Yeah. But one comment that I wrote about the fact that, Peter gets there, Mama goes out the moon door, he's getting kicked out, but I think in spite of the fact that Littlefinger's acting probably very selfishly, it probably is the very best thing that can happen for Robin to get away from that environment, because with the groundwork that Lysa laid, he's definitely going to be like a Norman Bates at some point, or another Joffrey.
Yeah, although, it's kind of, there's a little bit of out of the frying pan into the fire, though, aspect to it. Absolutely. Because at least with Lysa, he was with someone who actually ostensibly cared about his well-being. And being alive. Even if she was twisted about it. Yeah. Versus being with someone who really only cares about him to the extent that, gosh, if we just pushed him out the moon door too, probably all these nobles would just not like us at all, so... Probably have to keep a little.
Yeah, I think it keeps him alive longer now that Mama's gone, and I think it'll actually let him grow up a little, because he was so much more likable in that episode than any of the others, I think. It was more like he just seemed like a kid that missed his mom. He didn't seem twisted or weird for having been breastfeeding for the first 1,000 years of his life or whatever it was. And then I thought it was weird when they showed the scene in Marine with Barristan telling Jorah, I'm coming to you in honor, I'm not going to go behind your back, but I've got this letter, and it says that you were spying on the Khaleesi, and I'm going to go tell her about it. And he said, can I talk to her first? And he's like, you'll never be alone with her again, which is exactly what you want him to say, but it still pisses me off because the first thought I had was, well, what if I call her Misa? What if I call her Mumsy? Can I go see her then by myself? Because that's what everybody in their following does. Did you guys notice that she was wearing that kind of weird offset necklace from her Khaleesi days when she saw Jorah, when she did her official viewing with him? I thought it was really cool because before with the Dothraki stuff she was wearing, it looked, primitive and like horse lord like they were, but when she wore it with the silks and the stuff that she wears now, it elevated it to like another higher, more regal level, I thought, and it helped bring home the fact that she did she even make eye contact with Jorah? Because
No, well, I
it was
think
like he was
at first she did, but then when he took another step up and then she kind of stepped down to meet him, you could see that she's very deliberately not making eye contact.
Yeah, and but I mean, I don't. Well, to me, it came off more as I refuse to acknowledge you, rather than I can't look at you or I'll break. You know what? Don't you agree? It was out of strength, not weakness, right?
Oh yeah, she was denying eye contact to him as opposed to not being able to make it,
which is awesome.
Yeah.
She was as scary for me in that scene as she was with Mary Mazdor in what was that, season 1, episode 10?
Mm-hmm.
And let's see, and the Ramsay and Roose Bolton note that I had from when they were talking, and he told, he gave him Moat Cailin, and Roose said, now you're a Bolton, you're no longer a Snow. And then when Ramsay was showing his gratitude, did you guys notice that he's like, your tradition's alive, so there's going to be more skin peeling?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Did you guys feel like when Sansa came down at the end and she was wearing, which Chooch said you guys agreed was more of a Mockingbird style than an Irie style dress or a morning dress?
Like the feathers on the shoulders and stuff, yeah.
Yeah, I totally saw that as the Mockingbird outfit as soon as she came out, but the other thing was that, she had Cersei training her on a woman's best weapon, her, being able to use her assets to their best ability. And she had Marjorie, and she saw how Marjorie worked Joffrey, and she saw Shay. And I think she really, by the end, when she came down the stairs, it was like, yeah, she's at his kind of whimsy for his protection, but she's also had enough women coach her on how to handle male lust that she actually has a pretty good feel for it. Didn't you?
I have a question for you, Viv.
Yes.
About that.
Okay.
Specifically, PG didn't like her dress.
Really?
I thought she looked super badass, and it was awesome that she's going full supervillain.
Yes.
And okay, well, good. We're on the same page. I thought we would be. Just wanted to confirm.
Yeah, just wanted to say. Yes.
Well, I want to hear I want to hear your thoughts though, PG, because I'm curious. I'm shocked.
No, I just thought it was. I thought that the way I described it was, I thought that she earned the scene before, both the scenes before, from everything she's been through. And I just thought the last part was for, we're going to be cheesy now and put this exclamation point on it, and I just thought it wasn't worth. I just didn't like it. It's not that I,
Gotcha.
but yeah, I thought
that's cool.
Again, the Maleficent look.
He doesn't like strong women.
Emo Spider-Man.
Oh, bullshit.
I know. I'm
Did you look
teasing,
at the
of
three
course.
women on this panel and say
funny.
PG doesn't like strong women? Boy. And his woman, too. You like strong women. It's okay. And that's interesting,
Viv,
though. Yeah.
Viv, as PG said, we totally thought it was a Maleficent outfit, but your whole description of everything, there's a picture that's in the meme roundup that posted this morning, and it's a screen cap of that, and it's got the little Xbox thing on the bottom, and it says Sansa Stark has entered the game.
She really did with that. I like that.
Yeah.
I do like the way that's phrased, because up until now she's been reacting and cowering and afraid and brave where she could be and strong where she could be, and this is the first time that she's been somewhere where she can actually put all that shit that she learned in the Red Keep, from the rape of Lawless or whoever they call her on the show, and all the things that she's seen, where she can finally be like, now this is what I know how to handle because I was trained to be a lady. Etiquette is a lady's armor, is what the Septa used to teach her. So she keeps the manners. She lowers the bus line a little bit. She keeps Peter in line. Hopefully he keeps his hands off of her because
She said Peter.
So
That's her.
I had a perfect
Pervert.
vision for one of the final episodes or final scenes of the whole series, not just this season, but the whole series, is Sansa and Peter facing off with swords, and Sansa goes, "Before I was but the learner, but now I am the master." She has to do it like this. That's the sword motion, right?
And I have to say,
Time travel spoiler.
I have to
Boy,
be
if that really happens, I'm gonna look like a genius.
look like. I just thought it was a really cool way that she was able to grab some empowerment that she hasn't had in the show.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't think about the Maleficent similarities, and I don't remember if this scene was even in the books. I'll be honest. I don't remember if they had anything like that scene. But I agree. I don't know if I would say super villain, but she's definitely engaging, or not engaging, embracing like the darker side of everything that's going on. Partly because, God damn it, I'm tired of being everybody else's doormat, and also it kind of like Peter knows that it's for him because it's like you said, the mockingbird, the feathers, and all that stuff. So and there was a line I actually went back to. Something I've been trying to do this whole season is to go back to the notes I made in my Kindle when I was reading book 3 again. One of the notes that I actually did make time to go back and find is that when she's so in the book, just after Joffrey's death, as Sansa flees to Sir Dantos, I lost my glasses. She says to herself, "My skin has turned to porcelain, to ivory, to steel," and that's where I got the idea that she's kind of been toughening herself up after Cersei, go home, Cersei, you're drunk, crazy shit, and Shay and even Dany did, even though she doesn't have any kind of knowledge of Dany. She didn't learn anything from Dany, but she's embracing that power and her identity as a Stark, and the intelligence she has, and the resemblance to Cat, and what that means in wrangling Peter, and probably all stuff you guys said. The Tyrion and Jaime scene. I was wondering if anybody else had the same crazy thought I did, which was Tyrion's spending like his last moments to talk to his brother, and he's talking about the Beatles, Orson Lannister, smashy, smashy, crow, 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 or whatever it is. And so I was wondering if anyone thought that maybe Tyrion, because he's about to be tried for Joffrey's death, if in his mind he ever compared Orson to Joffrey with the compulsion for cruelty and killing, and if that's why, because otherwise why would Orson be stuck in his head right then? So I was wondering if he was trying to understand Orson so that he could better understand some of what Joffrey's craziness was, or if they were just two totally separate things.
Well, my thinking was that it's not so much comparing to Joffrey specifically, or at least not only to Joffrey, but just generally to the idea of, why does everybody hate me so much when I haven't done anything to them? Why are people mean and violent and cruel just for no reason?
Yeah.
And so it wasn't, Joffrey is certainly an example of that, but at least for me, I was thinking he was probably had more like his father in mind than Joffrey.
Oh, God,
of just saying, why is he being like this instead of being, a loving father, or, it's... Why is the world the way it is? Which at this point for him, it just seems like such an awful place, and it's just like, why is it like that? And thinking that Orson should have been so simple. It seems like if you want to understand the way the world works and why people act the way they do, you start with someone who should be simple. And if he couldn't even figure out the simplest person and why they would act that way, what is he even doing? Because, we have a comment asking, am I in the wrong episode? We were just revisiting Viv's comments on the previous episode. So we are still talking about Watchers on the Wall primarily, but we were just revisiting
I'm almost done,
points.
guys. I'm sorry. I was sick last week. They're letting me throw out some comments because I really did want to talk to them about some of the stuff. And then I think the next thing was just, Tyrion looks at Jaime as he's about to leave, and he looks like he just wants a hug. And in my mind, Jaime can't get any closer to him because of all the shit that he's gone through since the last time they saw each other at Winterfell, before Tyrion was captured, and then Jaime was captured, and Brienne and the bear and all of the things that happened. I don't think that he is capable of reaching out to his brother, even though it might be the last time that they could see each other without, chains or, you know, a beheading going on or something. And of course, the scene with Oberyn, of course, was just absolutely fantastic. It was way better than I ever imagined on any of the reads of the book. I think they did that scene just really, really well, and I hated it, and I loved it. And let's see. Oh, and I wanted to ask Christiana if she had noted what I did, which is Oberyn's cockiness. And he's like, I'm going to make you say this before you die. You're going to say it. You're going to say it. And it reminded me kind of like on Survivor, when you have the one guy that's like, oh, I got this now. This is all me. I'm gonna just do this now. And then they end up getting voted out that time because cockiness. For Tony, cockiness worked last season. Nobody else does it work for, I think.
Yeah, it's funny. I didn't make that connection, but we did certainly talk about how powerful that moment was, where he's got the mountain down on the ground, and you have everybody slowly realizing he's not finishing him. Oh no!
Yeah.
What is he doing? He's going to ruin everything because he can't let this go. And just that dawning horror, even before it becomes realized, you just realize
everybody's starting to.
This is not good. We can see right now that he didn't finish him what he could have, and he's probably going to pay with his life for it, and just that dawning realization. But at the same time, having that be so well supported by the way the character had acted up to that point.
Yeah. So that's pretty much the only notes that I had that Chooch hadn't already touched on, I think, or said that you guys had touched on. I love how much we all loved him. Chooch loved him, obviously, because he didn't know it was coming. But for the four of us that have read the book, and we knew he was only going to be there for a little while, and we knew he was going to be badass, and we knew he was going to die. That actor, my God, the fact that he was able to win everybody over that much is just amazing to me. He's that good. And I gave it like 9.5 out of 10 thumb reinforced gauntlets. Because gauntlets don't do that. But
so Nutty, we need a food update. What are you
What?
It's like a jawbreaker.
I feel like I'm boring.
I've been working on an everlasting gobstopper for a while.
Okay, there we go. I was trying to figure it out. We had Mike saying that you're bouncing again. Yay!
Bouncing again.
With your Beyond the Wall T-shirt on.
Just don't make me dizzy, girl. You keep the bounce, and I have to log off sooner.
I have my, which I don't know if it's backwards, but I have my Keep Calm and Demand Trial by Combat shirt on.
Which Peter Dinklage copied.
Copied.
Oh, you got to see his one from this week, though.
I went through my pictures, PG. I tried to see if I could find a picture of you where you could see the whole thing, and all of them, your lanyard was covering the text.
Sorry. Oh well.
But you did it first. There's pictures.
Yes, we agree with you. We were all hoping that HBO would make this one change and let Oberyn live. But
that was in my notes too.
Yeah.
I was like, if they let him live, oh my God, there's other doors that can open then. And it was like, fuck, no, they're gonna leave it. Yeah, I totally agree. I was hoping they'd let it.
Yep.
There's no way.
Well,
and from earlier, Mike McCauley says, I took her wearing that dress as shit's about to get real.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah. I can't vote for whomever you say. I need to be wine. Who wants you to wine and dine?
That was about the judge.
That was about Judge Christie. Sheriff Bullock says, I can't just vote for whomever you say, PG. I need to be wined and dined first. So if you don't live in North Carolina, Sheriff, you're out of luck. So sorry.
You're probably out of luck if you do.
So back to episode 9. So we have, again, the conversation between Sam and John talking about love. One thing I liked about that, we start getting, we have a callback, but it's one of those things that might come up again, not a spoiler, but just the way that Sam thinks about things that are open to interpretation and talking about love and how sex isn't specifically forbidden, just the whole taking a wife and having kids and things like that. So
He's put thought into it. He's a smart boy.
Yeah.
He's been thinking, trying to find his way, his
He's
loophole.
Yeah.
he's that book reader.
He's getting into the text and finding what he can. That's the view.
How big were her feet?
What the hell?
What?
I don't think you know how things work.
It's polite.
Well,
that you didn't ask about
I
Iraq.
thought he was basically joking that he asks John what she was like, and John kind of goes, "She had red hair," and then sort of trails off like
gotcha.
that's all he's going to say, and he's like, "Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Well, how big were her feet?" You know, I didn't think
Smartass.
he really cared about how big her feet were. Right?
I took that as sarcasm too.
Yeah.
He was like totally sarcastic. Like, what are you thinking?
I really liked that conversation. I thought it was very deft writing because it worked on a number of levels. Because A, it's just an illustration of there's the slice of life aspect of it in the sense of we got these two young men in the position that they're in, looking at what seems very likely to be imminent death. What do they talk about in moments of downtime? I mean, so it felt authentic there. It felt like something that the relationship that they have, it seems like something that could come up in conversation, meaning it would be a topic that they would be interested in, and I don't, just mean in the lurid sense. But also what it does is it reminds us how John feels about Ygritte and sets up what Sam is feeling about Gilly. And it does all of those things at the same time that we get to establish the setting for Up on the Top of the Wall, look out at the forest before the fire has started, and to just reestablish to the audience where everything stands in the sense that the army's coming.
Yeah, and the scale of it. Yeah.
That scene does all of those things, and I thought it was really actually pretty impressive writing.
Yeah, I totally agree, and I think that they did that several times throughout the episode. As far as some of the scenes and the conversations were very good.
Yeah.
Let's see. We have the first mention of Alliser Thorne, where once Sam does talk about how he's interpreting the vows. John makes the comment, well, I don't think Alliser would agree with that point of view.
I like that.
They walk down to the cage, the elevator, and he keeps asking him about Ygritte, and they have the line about him not being a poet, and then he says, well, he got nothing for it except for an arrow 6 inches from his heart. So, and that does bring up, the time dilation mechanics of the television show. In the books, John was still recovering from all his injuries, and it was, it was represented much differently. For a lot of the fight, he's sort of up in a tower with a couple other guys on a bow, rather than doing things at the top of the wall, coming down, getting in the middle of the fight. Definitely.
We got a comment saying "bull" on that loophole, Christiana. I ask for clarification on your comment because I was supporting the conversation as being a good scene and not necessarily supporting that Sam is right to think that he could get away with that kind of a loophole, because I think the implication is clear, even if you want to wordsmith the finer points of the words they say. But I'm not sure what he means.
At the same time, there doesn't seem to be much of a penalty for going to Molestown.
That's true.
Unless it gets raided by Thins and you die. But
I think they made it clear up until this point on the show that they're more concerned about people running away and abandoning the wall. And I know they've said it on the show, and I'm sure they've said it in the book thousands of times, that everybody knows that the brothers sneak off from time to time for a little fun.
Kind of an open secret. It's kind of like, don't get caught in a way that forces us to have to discipline you on it.
Exactly. Yes,
So,
the Survivor the endings on Survivor usually are less messy than on Game of Thrones. Good, very true, Tim. Very
Most
true.
of the time, yes. So after that, we cut over to to the wildlings outside of Castle Black. Ygritte is sharpening her arrow points, and Tormund starts talking about his lovely bear story with Sheila, and Ygritte's finally had enough of that, and tells him just, I don't want to hear about,
Hey, Chooch.
everyone knows you didn't fuck the bear.
I love that.
And I don't really want to hear about that right now.
That was awesome.
Hey, Chooch.
Hey, Chooch, did you pick up on that story at all, on what they were talking about with Tormund and the bear?
No.
Okay. I was just wondering if non-book readers had picked up on that.
I just thought it was another wacky story. Oh, that Tormund.
I think that's how all book readers feel about him too, Chooch. So the show has gotten that point across, so that's good.
Yeah.
Now, is that the same story he was telling John or was it a different one where he's talking about sex and?
No, he said
Different
slick
things.
as a baby seal, and that.
Yeah. Another animal reference, just not.
Tormund's been in the wild too long.
That Tormund.
And now he's insane.
That's another thing though that I think was really a good idea in the show, which is that in the books after John left the wildlings, we didn't have any scenes with the wildling raiding party as they're continuing to get ready to attack Castle Black, and so having the show give us a couple of scenes showing the Thens coming up, but also just in particular reminding us, keeping us aware of who Ygritte and Tormund are, because for the battle, being able to follow sort of the hero characters for both sides as everything developed was really effective.
Mm-hmm.
I agree.
Yeah, just like I said, establishing where people are, although it made me laugh because I'm like, I don't know if I'd, build a castle in such a way that you couldn't actually see someone coming up to it. They could just hide beyond this hill that's just a few, or not have someone out there watching for someone, an advanced scout or something. But it was,
Well, yeah.
worked for the episode. So
I
there's
think
lots of
far
things
away
like that.
though. When they zoomed out, like I was thinking as they're putting out the fire, I'm like, how is Castle Black not seeing that? And then they zoomed out, and you could see they were actually pretty far away.
Well, they were at a bottom
whole,
of a hill, it looked like, right?
Yeah. There was a whole mountain to go over, and.
Well, I mean, they showed Ygritte just sort of run down the hill, and after looking and seeing weather. So
I agree.
Well, I don't think that's where they had been making camp, though. I think that was after
Probably.
they had
Yeah,
made their way a little
was-
closer.
yeah.
I thought it was funny, though, because at the same time that they're doing that scene, you can see this big ghillie wrapped with a baby. You see this giant black figure stop, look down at them at the campsite as they're talking about almost, being ready to invade the Castle Black.
Yeah.
And nobody noticed. There's a warg, there's all kinds of guards, there's sentries. They're watching Castle Black, and they didn't see this woman with a baby and this huge black swaddling thing walk right past them.
Yeah,
Just,
that was my other note was maybe shoot any animals that are like sitting on top of the wall looking around.
I totally would. No owls, no eagles, no.
Well,
nothing.
especially John should know better now, right?
Yeah.
I mean, he's,
I think-
especially because how often do you think owls really do fly up to the top of the wall like that? Probably not very often, I would think.
I think.
Well, and
But,
it was acknowledged that they should have listened to his advice, and hearing what was it Slint saying later on in the show, but there's no such thing as giants as they're like coming. It's like
He's
it's time to
definitely
kind of leave the
panicking.
bubble.
in denial until the very end. Yes, B. Fitz mentions Castle Black doesn't have a southern defense historically. That's another change from the books. Castle is sort of a misnomer. I mean, more of a fort, but it's there. There's no external walls to this in the book. There's the buildings, but in the book they put up some barricades and different things, but not.
Nutty looks
the
like
wall and the gate. Yeah, go
I think
ahead.
she's
Ben.
going to say what I was going to say.
Yeah, probably the same thing. They do have a gate and everything. They can't have any fortified structures. Because of something that happened in the past, basically.
Well,
One of the Lord Commander said, "Yeah, I'm king now," and they had to get taken over. So,
Right. Yeah, it's actually a thing to make the castle not defensible from the south, because the whole idea is it's supposed to be kind of like a show to all the other realms that if they ever needed to take out the Watch, they could, because then it's supposed to be a reason for the Watch to not anger the people to the south of them.
Yeah, because one time it did happen.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Which is always nice that, the people you get up there to protect you, you have to treat them like the people that they are now. Criminals and stuff, but yeah. But yeah, we get to see the warg for a second. He looked like that guy, William Fincher, but then I looked him up and he was a different actor, but I thought...
That's what I kept thinking in the previews, and then whenever I'd see the commercial.
I was like, oh, could that be? And I looked it up. I was like, oh. But, yeah, so we established that, again, that in that scene that Grit's ready to kill some folks, and they actually established something which I thought might happen later in the episode, where she tells Steer, the big old Finn, that if somebody gets in my way to kill John, I'm going to put an arrow in him. And I thought that's what was going to happen. I thought that they would be having that fight. I was like, oh, here comes Grit. She's going to shoot Steer right in the back of the head so she can kill John herself, but it didn't happen. But from there, we cut over to the conversation in the library between Sam and Maester Aemon, which I loved. Just talking about love and him, Maester Aemon, just sort of busting him again for being in love. Oh, I could hear it in your voice. Can't read these damn books, but I could hear love in your voice, boy.
That was such a cool scene.
Yeah. And just the whole discussion. Anytime he's talking about his old life, I like. So.
This wasn't really. I wouldn't even call it a complaint, but it did feel a little bit weird. Just the sort of the reminder of, like, oh yes, I was Aemon Targaryen, in case anybody forgot, because the last time I said so was in season 1. Just so anyone who had forgotten about that is still clear. So there was a little bit of that.
I grew up in King's Landing. I'm going to spell it out for you.
Especially all they had to do is doing the previously on and have them say, "Remember, I used to be," and then they didn't have to do that this episode.
Nice voice there, PG.
Oh, shut up. And
I was complimenting you, asshole.
Hello,
I thought that was a good voice.
Oh, I thought you were like, nice voice, PG.
Fuck. Jesus.
Anyway, so but anyway, him having the 90-plus-year-old guy still around, giving him a good scene was nice to see. Always good to have. I mean, we've said before, or I think we've said before. I mean, I think the greatest strength of the show are the one-on-one scenes between two good actors, and I thought that was another one. From that, Sam leaves, walks out, and hears Pip at the gate, and our first sighting of Pip, and Gilly is there with the baby after seeing the wildlings, and sort of going, and keeps on walking to the gate. And then does she even really bring it up that that they were like right outside or down the road a little bit? They just sort of skip that.
She definitely made it clear that let me in now. They're please now. I mean, didn't she say something along those lines, Christiana?
Well, sort of. I mean, she made it clear that she wanted to come in right away, but she didn't say, "Oh, by the way, there's a camp of wildlings just down the road." Yeah. But I think, even though that aspect of the geography wasn't super clear, I don't think it was intended to imply that they're just like 50 yards away. I think they were between Molestown and Castle Black, but it wasn't supposed to be just like literally right over the other hill. I think when we see them attack, they had already made their way closer by then. That was my impression anyway, even though visually it wasn't super obvious.
Yep. Kevin.
I think if they were literally right behind her, she would have said something.
Yeah. Kevin in the Q&A, just to make sure I'm not sure if you've watched before. You were straying close to a spoiler, and we try to keep that out, even out of the chat for for those
I
purposes.
missed a spoiler. Damn it.
And
It wasn't really, but yeah,
also, just stop trying to make me sniffle.
yeah, don't make Lenny sniffle. So from there, we have another example of which I love the callback to Gilly taking everything literally. when when Sam says, "I will never leave you alone again," or "never leave you again," and then she realizes that he didn't mean it that way and gets all upset. I thought that was awesome.
That was so cute.
Well, I think she had a point too, though, that really was needed to. First of all, it felt real that she would say that, but also just that Sam's reaction was something we needed to see too, which just this idea of, if you stay in here with me, you might be able to protect me against the one or two that could come through and get to this point. But if you just go out there, you're just going to get killed, and then what? Then I have no one here to help me.
Right.
And so I could understand that her fear of being left alone, especially at that point where she had already felt a little bit like he left her alone when she didn't want him to. But also just this idea that we needed to have Sam make it clear is like, look, I want to protect you, and the best way I can do that is to have you stay in here, but I do need to go help
My brothers.
defend the wall.
Yeah.
We're all in the same boat here, and if the wildlings overrun us, they're going to come in here whether I'm in here or not. But out there, I might be able to help my brothers and help it be more.
Yeah.
Right.
I think she would have
Need a
had
vow.
way better luck if there had been a cave with like a hot tub and sweet lighting and it was warm and stuff like John got. I think.
We could just stay in here forever. We don't have to go back
Right.
to the castle.
Yep.
You know nothing. Yeah, I mean, and one of, I guess, the themes of the episode is just showing how Sam has grown as a man, yelling at Pip. I've never heard you curse before, or whatever he said.
He was
Get used to it.
I think it was a good example of both. We were seeing this from John over a gradual arc, but seeing some of it from Sam too, of just as they gradually become the actual smartest and most experienced people left, it starts being a thing where it's one thing, Pip, to say you have rules to not open the gate. On the other hand, this is Gilly. We know Gilly. We thought she was dead. Turns out, guess what? She's alive with a baby standing right there. No one else around. Open the fucking gate. Come on.
Exactly.
No, I liked that he lost his patience there. Just it's like, dude, come on. Like, think about this for just 5 seconds and then answer.
Right.
Yep.
Well, and it kind of goes to show a lot of what you see in Sam. He does a lot of critical thinking. He's not just following orders, whereas so many of the brothers are just following orders. If you look at Sam and John, they are the only two real characters that we see that are in the stewardship, right? So you see just what John was told when he was first put into the stewards, that stewards are meant for greater things. They're meant to, you're being put there because you're being groomed and you're given the chance to do some critical thinking. Whereas rangers follow orders and just fight. Builders follow orders and just, build and construct and so forth. So the stewards, it's a very different kind of brother. And in this episode, we get to see both Sam and John just really lead. And that's kind of something that I think the original intention was they're going to be groomed for something, and you can see that's really happening, and it's happening fast.
Right. So at the end, the end of the previous scene, the reason they go hide in the pantry or whatever that is the horns start to sound, realizing that the attack is coming from beyond the wall, and yeah, I did. The one comment was, watching that, and they go in and have this door and lock the door. Is like, okay, well, that's going to keep somebody out of there. Is this, this one little room? It's not like it's a secret door and a secret wall, but but it was a good place to go hide, I guess. As we find out later with Janice. I love that he ends up in the exact same place.
Yeah.
But yeah, they go. You see the fire. We've got the first scene where we see Alliser at the top of the wall. Oh, we got Rory showing up, I think. Our dragon.
Rory in attack.
Taking a bite. Oh my gosh.
He's knocking my headphones off and everything.
That poor goat. No, wait, Rory. We have. Let's see here. We have the first scene with Alliser, where, again, one of the things I loved about this episode is that we get to see Alliser Thorne not be just a prick. He's actually capable of being a good leader and, makes a good rousing speech later, which we'll get to. But, the scene between him and John was really good, I thought.
And it shows when shit hits the fan, he cares. Like, he may be a brusquely jerk that's really mean to everybody, but he actually cares about all of his brothers, even John.
Mm-hmm. Yep, and he does make the point that if if you're a leader and you start questioning yourself, then it's the end, and then the little twats are going to end up dead too. So.
Yeah, I that was one thing that I was kind of unexpected for me in this episode, but I really appreciated was it's not like redeeming Thorne exactly, but just this idea of showing this additional layer to him and acting as a reminder that just because someone's a jerk sometimes does not mean that they have fundamentally opposed goals or motivations from you. And sometimes when it comes down to it, you say, oh, look, common enemy right there. I guess we are on the same side.
Mm-hmm.
And so I liked that in this dire moment they were able to connect in that way. And although it's jumping ahead a little bit, he had a pretty badass fight with Tormund.
Yeah. Yep.
Although there was that one moment where you see him kind of like briefly decide to try swinging his sword around the post and then kind of going, oh, yeah, that's not going to work. Never mind.
I like that.
I was so happy for that fight scene. I was like, yes, he's getting a good death. It matters. It counts.
Well, he didn't. We don't see him die.
Yeah,
I don't think
yeah.
to
I'm
the
sorry.
infirmary.
They dragged him out, still shouting, and all they said was that he'd fallen.
Right.
Yeah, I thought
But that's what I meant, like that we got to see him actually fight, and it was against Tormund, and Tormund, he got a great fight, and it was against a good opponent. Because I'm sorry, there's no way like one of those little boys that were fresh recruits were going to be able to stand up to Tormund and give us that awesome fight. So it was great that it was
we saw
the master
Tormund
at
cut
arms.
his way through like 9 or 10 guys.
Yeah.
But again, this just comes back to what we were saying earlier, the idea that they established significant characters on both sides, allowed for that, both for the Tormund and Alliser Thorne fight, and then also, when John's fight with Steer or whatever his name was later.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there were a couple of different boss fights going on, and it was awesome.
The Giants too.
And I like the one guy. They showed one wildling guy for like a split second. He sort of paused right in the mid frame there, and then he ended up being the guy that Sam kills with the crossbow later. And I was like, okay, well, that's why they established his who he was, that he looked a little bit different, that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm. Nice work, Sam. By the way,
Sam the man.
I liked that too, especially since Show Sam got cheated out of what was one of his biggest moments of badass in the books, namely the Sam the Slayer thing, which in the show happened with only Gilly as a witness, and so half of everybody doesn't even believe that it happened, whereas in the books many people saw it and was like, oh, wow. Even though they still kind of teased him, it was still not unquestioned that it actually happened. And so, to have him get another chance at visible success was nice.
Right. Yeah, we had a few comments as we've been going along. BFIT says, I wish there had been a third horn. Yeah, I was counting horns as they were blowing. Master Aemon should have studied how to make wildfire at the Citadel, Sheriff Bullock says. That would have been good.
What
I
if he
don't
melted
think
the
he
wall,
has a
though?
Valerian link.
Ah,
I don't
yeah.
think Aemon has a Valerian link. He would have to have that before he could learn how to make wildfire.
BFIT says, Master Aemon is such a gift to book readers, not necessarily viewers. I think that's true. That's true in some respects. I think some viewers definitely get a kick out of him, but yeah, definitely the
certainly. Yeah, in the books, he's able to supply a lot of the historical backstory and texture that is nice in the books, but the show doesn't really have time to cover. So we have a bit more of him actually providing us with interesting information in the books versus the show just has less time to cover things that are not about what's happening now.
Yeah. Nicole, I guess talking about Master Aemon, talking about his love life, maybe. Yeah.
Well, no, I think she's mentioning how I pointed out that he kind of name drops himself.
Yes. If you were a Targaryen, you'd do the same thing. That makes sense. Very good. And Mike McCauley says, by the way, Sam was told to go to bed twice, first by John, then by the old blind guy in the library. He didn't listen. Yeah, he should have. He could have slept through the whole thing and not had all that trouble.
Gilly would be dead.
Yeah, she'd be out outside the gate knocking. So
I don't know how many people we have here who are Thrilling Adventure Hour listeners, but I just suddenly envisioned someone at the wall, maybe Thorne, just going, "Now I don't want no trouble at my place." So hopefully, if you are a Thrilling Adventure Hour listener, you will get that. Otherwise, maybe not. But I enjoyed it myself, so that's really all I care about.
Was Ygritte the only female present at the battle, other than Gilly in the pantry? I guess she was. They didn't really show. There may have been some outside the wall, like in the tree line. Of course, you don't see as many.
Certainly, the only one we noticed.
Yeah. BFIT says, I love that great tracking scene. Fabulous. Yeah, there was two of them. Two of them primarily, and the first one, showing the ones outside the wall, up to the fire, over the wall to the fire. So you get, they really good establishing of the idea of, Castle Black being at the bottom, top of the wall, the tree line, all that was well established up front. So it made sense of the idea of going up and down the wall, and then when Gren comes down to protect the inner gate, they had already done a good job of establishing all of that, so that was good. Let's see. So Pip is outside putting arrows into the barrels and buckets. Good conversations throughout the episode with Sam and Pip. A couple of again, some of the things that changed and maybe surprised some people. Pip dying in this battle. I don't think that was in the book.
I couldn't remember.
Gren
that
dying.
happened in the book.
Gren dying was different in the book. They didn't establish on the show. There was a blacksmith, Donald Noy, who's one-armed blacksmith, and he was a badass.
He was a badass.
And he was sort of leading everything down at the bottom or in Castle Black with that attack, because everybody else was at the top of the wall, and Alliser Thorne wasn't at the wall. They were still traveling to the wall at this point in the book, so he wasn't there to lead.
Yeah, it was interesting just because a lot, throughout the seasons where we've had stuff at the wall, there were several secondary characters that we didn't get to see in the show at all because they just either changed the scene altogether or they gave those bits to some other character like Pip or Gren or Ed. So just to, I think they kind of wrapped that up because, of course, we have Gren fall largely the same way that Donald Noy did in the book, which is, trying and succeeding at defending that inner gate from the giant, but at the cost of his own life. And so I tell you, all of the deaths in this episode, I felt very keenly. I thought each one, earned is not right, but I just mean I felt all of those. They seemed meaningful and respectful of the characters.
I agree.
Yep,
if they had to go, they went that way, and they went a lot of.
I kind of didn't quite get into the one that I'm sure we'll talk more about a little bit later.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think like there were so many different deaths. I don't know how many, but I bet PG does because of the survey.
No, I don't.
I don't. Okay, because that. Wow. All I could think while I was watching this was like, I would never be able to count this. I can't count them to begin with, but this is insane.
Yeah.
I got to the point, and for those who did submit a survey, we will be announcing that next week. Reason being that I got to the point where they were fighting in the courtyard and different things, and there was no way I could tell Watcher from Wildling in some cases. So I got to go back and actually watch this in slow motion in some cases. So.
Maybe we can get some of some of our listeners to help you out there, because I know every now and then we have a couple that try to correct you. So those that normally get a good count, if you could help PG, that would be fantastic.
Yeah, if you want to, send me a list and I'll do an average, because the numbers were so high. Just need a round number, probably be able to come up with the winners.
I'm pretty sure my guess wasn't over. Let's just say that. What was I saying? Oh yeah, and just as I was watching all of these different deaths, like none of them felt cheap to me. None of them felt gratuitous, and none of them felt like unimportant, or like they just threw it in there so that they could say, "Oh yeah, this person died too." It was all very powerful. I don't know if this is the only. I know Battle of the Blackwater, we really didn't leave King's Landing, but it didn't feel as completely like one area as this episode is. The fact that we didn't move anywhere. There was no, we didn't go to Maester Aemon, who's cowering inside and wondering if he had to kill himself. That was a joke about Cersei. But the pacing on this was so good, and just watching everything happen, like I felt like I didn't blink.
Yeah,
they handled it really well.
Let's give a shout out to just the production designers and whoever decided on the budget for this episode, just because I feel like this episode, more than any other episode to date, I feel like really nailed the sense of scale that was needed for the size of this battle. Because even the big battle scenes we've seen in the past were either much shorter, or if we talk about the Blackwater was a great episode, but there still was a little bit of so there's about 20 guys rushing at a wall that's supposed to stand in for a huge battle. But this one felt a lot more like they nailed it visually in terms of having it feel as epic as we know it's supposed to be given the story.
Although I still had that split second of, okay, we got 100,000 here, and we got about 10 guys and a mammoth and 2 giants going to the gate.
Well, but as John points out,
that was only testing. I know, but I'm just saying, when they started running out, I was still like, okay, we only have enough money for this number of people here.
I'm sorry, but that fire was when that fire that they lit definitely fulfilled the promise of being the biggest fire the North has ever seen to me. I was really afraid that they were gonna have like a really cheesy, oh yeah, this is a big fire, and it's like, really, I've done bigger than that on Fire Island. I mean, come on. So I was
going to say, have someone up there just looking. We see the fire, the big effect shot, the big pan, and then just go, I've seen bigger.
I must say, it doesn't get more badass than a giant riding a mammoth.
Yeah, I did. Although the moment of the show for me was the giant firing the bow.
Oh yeah.
And hitting the guy and knocking him 100 feet in the air. I thought that was hilarious.
And then
and in the
actually
courtyard.
following it all the way down to seeing where this guy lands and everything.
Yeah.
It was a fantastic segue back to the battle at the front. I mean, it literally carried you over the wall and down right into the middle of it. It was. I was like, "Oh my God, that's so gross! Oh, that's brilliant! Yeah, keep going on that side."
Yeah.
That
I get to see him impaled by a tree branch.
Jesus Christ!
I did have one small, not even, I just, things they do for a TV show to show cool things. You probably, in the darkness, you wouldn't use fire arrows when there's no reason to use fire arrows. So, like, firing off the wall with these fire arrows so that your enemy can see the arrows coming.
Well,
Not exactly sound strategy, but
isn't that something that they do in wartime? Well, war times. I don't read war books, but it would give them more light on the field when the arrows land. There's more light on the field, so they can see their targets better that they missed because maybe.
Plus you're burning.
I don't really know that.
I said, plus you're burning and impaled.
true.
Cauterized wound? That seems like it's helping.
Oh wait,
them.
that's
Oh,
not
you
good.
don't have to go back and burn the bodies.
Kidding.
I don't think getting shot with a flaming arrow helps you at all versus a regular arrow. I think that.
Just kidding.
They don't have to go back and.
Besides, your blood would put the fire out just right away anyway.
Oh, right. All the blood that's pouring out. That's right.
It just means they don't have to go back and burn the bodies.
The
So.
Grit's arrows were
Thank
not
you, Chooch.
flaming.
That's right. That Chooch has it.
Yes.
They don't have to go back and burn the bodies now because they're already burning.
Exactly. Hers were not burning because she didn't want them. She didn't want anybody to see her arrows coming, like Pip. Oh, sorry, Pip.
Well, I think that was another example of something that made it feel more meaningful as starting to build momentum for what was going to happen between her and John. Is this idea of we have seen her kill a number of people in the various raids on the villages and so on, but in order to convey how far it's come between those two and to really just ramp up this sense of impending tragedy, you just have to realize, like, she's killing people that we like, and so that means that even, like, taking her alive and then they get to be together is not something that could happen. It's just not, it couldn't be allowed to happen at all.
And John has said as much. Yeah.
Well, I mean, he knew it, but I just mean it's also driving that home, I think, in the hearts of the viewer of just realizing that there never could have been any other choice, and that's actually what's so heartbreaking about it, is just recognizing it's a little bit like with Shay and Tyrion in the sense of realizing that what they each want is just so fundamentally opposed that even though they do deeply love each other, there's just no way that they could ever be together. It's just impossible, and yet it hurts so much. And so I thought that was so having her, for example, be the one to kill Pip was really sort of building to this idea of there's really, I mean, one of them or the other is going to die. There's just no other way this can play out.
Yeah.
Yep.
Sort of getting back to the timeline, as the wildlings attack Castle Black underneath, word gets up to the top, and Alliser decides he's going to go downstairs and leaves Janice Slint in charge. And I just love the next scene of, first John yelling at him for being stupid, and then, as Viv pointed out, him talking about, giants, they're just stories when, they're right there.
Yeah.
And then,
they're right there on mammoths.
Gren being cool guy comes around and says,
proactive.
Hey, yes. Instead of, John's going to get in trouble again. I better go rescue him here.
Right? So loyal.
And he was insulting all of the men instead of inspiring them. He's insulting them and telling them that they're gonna lose.
He's like, "You suck. I used to run the city guard. You guys suck. What giants? They aren't real." Good for Grit. He showed a lot more intelligence in that episode than in any other one. I think was he the one that they made fun of for being dumb?
Yeah, well, I think
well,
so.
They made him,
multiple ones. But he showed a lot of intelligence in that. Just that one little blip of they need you downstairs. He can't win without you. Thorne needs you. That was fucking brilliant.
I think everything that Slint said, though, I mean, there was no insult there. He was literally just repeating things that he had said before. He was completely
just out
brain
of it at
shut
that
off
point.
panic
Yeah.
mode. Everything he said while he was standing there was something he had said earlier or something that Thorne had said earlier, like repeating the whole bit about the gate being steel, repeating the bit about, the giants aren't real. I mean, he was just saying words because he was in total panic mode. That's, I think, why giving him an opportunity that didn't mean he has to continue fighting them. So, like, even this idea of, is he insulting them? I don't think he was, in his mind, he's not insulting, he's just saying things.
But it's having that effect is what I'm saying. Yeah, it's like what he's saying is damaging to the battle more than, I mean, it's not just that he is lacking in leadership, it's he's doing the exact opposite. He's breaking them down instead of building them up. I was kind of hoping John would have a nice speech when he took over, but he didn't, but that's okay because we got a really awesome one from Ed later on, so that was good. But yeah, just getting him out of there was like the best thing that they could have done. And actually, him hiding might have been the best thing he could have done, too.
I think they were already charged, and with how much respect John has, he didn't need to give a big speech. It's like, it's go time. Let's get down to business.
Yeah. I thought you were just about to say, Nutty, we got a good speech from Alliser later, and I was just like, okay. And the only thing I could think of, even though I liked the speech, was not exactly the best time to give a speech when they're actually coming over and attacking
No. I loved Ed. Ed was great.
Yeah. They all of those guys that were just little shits when John and Sam arrived, they were like the sterling examples that you hoped for, and that Alliser Thorne, I don't remember how he said it in the show, but I know in the book he was, one of the times that he got down on Sam was, one of these days this guy is going to be protecting you. He's going to be behind you protecting you. Is this the kind of guy you want protecting you? And that is why now for everybody that thought that they were just sitting there and waiting and going out on ranges every once in a while, we got to see what Thorne was talking about. That's when the shit really hits the fan, that you really do want somebody strong. And the fact that Sam isn't a strong fighter, but he's taken down a White Walker and a Thin with one shot each, I think he's a little underestimated, but it was awesome.
In fairness, there was some substantial luck on both occasions, but yeah.
I think part of his, what, honey?
I'll just say his fight or flight instincts working a little different than Slun's.
I also think the fact that he trained and was always the one loading the crossbow is the only reason he got that arrow in.
Yeah.
Good one.
Yeah. Seeing him do that, for the up until that point during the battle, he just kept loading the crossbow, and he was doing it really fast, and he was doing it really well, and he wasn't looking at it when he was doing it because he was trying to keep other people on task. So I thought everything was laid out really well. Everything was like Lego bricks building up for what was coming next.
Yeah.
Legos. Yes, and speaking of loading the crossbow, we had the scene, when the attack first starts where Pip is firing the crossbow and keeps missing. He's cursing at himself, and then he finally hits somebody, and he says he got him right in the heart, and Sam's like, is it still, is the battle over? Can we leave now? Then keep shooting, dumbass.
I love Snarky Sam. Sam is my favorite.
Kid, don't get cocky.
Because it's subtle, too. It wasn't like, hey, dumbass. It was like, is it over? No, keep shooting. It was nice.
Well, that's kind of like his sarcastic comment of how big are her feet. Like, I think his snark is subtle. It's underplayed. I love Sam.
The wildlings start climbing the wall. We see the first giants and the mammoths, and that starts. Ygritte is killing just one after the other. I still don't know how they actually won the fight, because it seemed like they only had 102 and they were dropping like flies. But somehow the tide turned, and it didn't quite convey that maybe as well as it could have been conveyed.
They only had 102, but they only really had to deal with on the ground was the raiding parties that came. And
the
defenses, they still have thousands of people, but they were able to kill 2 giants and make a mammoth run.
On
On
fire.
fire.
Yeah.
On fucking
So
fire.
and they killed quite a few wildlings on the other side of the wall.
Right.
That's enough to kind of make them go, all right, we're done. And as John said, they're done. They're done for tonight, but they're going to come back tomorrow.
Right.
So
Yeah, I'm only
What are they
saying
gonna
that
do,
the
turn around and go
idea
home?
of how they showed many of the Watchers down at the bottom getting killed, and
Yeah.
then
yeah.
the
I
two,
agree.
the two major, Tormund being taken down after everything was pretty much over, and Stir being taken down was sort of the turning point, but
Yeah.
it didn't
They lost.
seem to convey the turn in the actual battle as well as I
Yeah.
thought they could have, although I still enjoyed the hell out of it. So,
Yeah.
um,
So I know I missed part of the conversation, and I apologize. Did you guys already talk about Pip's death scene? Because I have a particular opinion that I know Christiana's not going to like, but
we
No,
can
well,
jump to
we
it.
talked a little bit about it, but go ahead.
No, we didn't really get into
I can
it.
save it for my
No,
my note. I'm gonna.
we didn't get to it, so we can do it right now. Go
It's
ahead.
I love Ygritte. I think she's been a pain in the ass, and I haven't minded knowing what was coming for her. I love what she brought out in John, but she always irritated the shit out of me. And I'm not terribly sad that I don't have to hear that line again. But my note when Ygritte killed Pip was, fucking Ygritte killed Pip. Fuck that ginger minge, which is what Styrid called her earlier. Because it's like, fuck you, I love Pip, don't do that. Of all the people to kill Pip, it had to be her. And you're right, because it also laid the groundwork of, we know they can't be together. It shows that, they're always going to be conflicted. And it was like I told Chooch when we were watching it, I was like, it's so hard to not root for Tormund and Ygritte, even though they're the bad guys that are storming the castle and going to bring all this doom on the South, allegedly, and all this stuff. And it's just like, it was really hard because they're such fucking awesome characters that you don't want them to die and you don't want anything bad to happen to them, but you don't want them to succeed. I don't want them to succeed.
Well, right, yeah. I mean, that's why I agree that it was heartbreaking to have Pip die and to have Ygritte do it.
Yeah, I know you love her so much.
But I think they built so well. Why? Again, it's like they are the antagonists surely here, and they've done some things that we don't like. But we also have to remember the position that they find themselves in, which is all these people built a big wall that is trapping us up here with the White Walkers. And they are going to, they don't care. They're going to let us all die up there unless we force our way down.
Yep.
And so this is the only way to do that. And so
I just have to apologize to Christiana because I know how much you love her. And as soon as I wrote it, I thought, Christiana loves her. I can't say this, but I'm so mad because I love Pip so much. They made us really love those boys.
Where's my apology?
I haven't heard you talk about Ygritte the way Christiana does, though. I'm sorry. I apologize, Nettie, and anybody else that I offended.
Most of the time, Christiana says what I'm thinking, and I'm just like, okay, I don't got to say that. But you don't have to apologize at all. Like, that's the thing. I feel like everybody's allowed to like or not like certain characters, and that is totally up to you. I mean, when for the longest time I hated Sansa, and you love Sansa, it took the books getting into Sansa's head for me to care about her. But because of all of that, going through and seeing Sansa from the beginning, like, I have more appreciation for Sansa now because I've heard your side of it. So that's why I think it's really great that we talk about these different characters of if we like them or we hate them, we should talk about that because then it gives you another idea.
Yeah, absolutely. I was going to tease a little bit that because you should absolutely not feel guilty for your opinion here, the fact that you feel guilty is making me think maybe you're really conflicted after all.
I was just going to say I'm just so fucking Get out of my head, Ellis. Get out of my head. No, I was just sitting there thinking it's really one of those things. It's like I don't really like Ygritte because of where she falls in the storyline. And she's a natural predator for John, I guess, or they're predator prey to each other. They hunt each other as far as wildlings versus crows, and so it's hard. It was hard for me to give my heart to her, anyways. you know, like everybody else just loves her, and I love her, and I love her strength, and goddamn, she totally brought it in that battle too, because she was knocking off people twice as fast as those Thens were. With those arrows, she was scary dangerous.
Well,
Yeah, I'm
and
conflicted,
we get,
goddammit. Thanks.
we get more Ygritte in this battle because in the books we don't really know what she's doing.
Exactly.
And we'll get to that
Exactly.
later on.
Yeah.
We'll get more into what actually happens to her in the book.
Yeah.
Because it's very drastically different.
Yeah.
And it has a whole different emotional range, I think.
Agreed, which is one of the reasons I'm pissed. But go ahead.
So it was really neat to see her actually in action and doing that. And when we were talking about the arrows on fire, I mean, like, she was like a ninja because nobody was really coming after her. She was going in between the fighting and picking people off. Whereas other wildlings were not getting away with that. Like, she is definitely, you know, the in the trees kind of a fighter, and she was making it work, and it was really neat to be able to see that, because in the books we don't really see that. We see that she was with a party and John joins them, but they don't really get into fights or anything, so you don't really know, is she as good as she says she is.
Well, and even Tormund said it, you know, I've seen you take out the eye on a rabbit from 100 yards or whatever. So we've heard the stories, but I mean, even so, I think the fact that she's so intelligent that she takes her size and her body, you know, she's lithe and she's small, so she can get down real low and not even be noticeable, like you said. You know, it was really, it was smarter than being one of the people that runs in with an axe, because she wasn't ever going to be able to kick ass that way. She kicked ass with that
she was
bow.
totally sniping the entire battle. Like, she was just moving from place to place, staying on the outside of the fight, not really having anybody come after her, because the moment you notice where an arrows come from, she's gone.
She's gone, and it's in you.
Well, the other thing,
I mean, like, Sam wouldn't be able to figure out who fired that.
Yeah.
Sorry, I cut you off, Christiana.
That's all right. I was just going to say, in the books, you're right that we didn't really see her actually do very much directly on camera, as it were. The implication is just there that we have to remember Mance sent her as one of the people on this raiding party to go over the wall. I don't think he's sending just, hey, who volunteers? You know, it's people who he thinks are going to be able to get the job done. And so if she's one of the people that he sends with this group, that's, I think that right there speaks a lot to her skills as something that are known within her group.
Yeah.
And also in the books we get more of Mance, so like we trust his judgment.
Yeah.
Whereas I don't really know Mance in this, so I don't really trust his judgment.
How about you, Chooch? Do you feel like you have a good grasp on Mance as a character, or no?
I certainly did the scenes that he was in way back when, but I'm sure nothing like the books.
You know, it is weird.
Much screen time.
I was going to say, for all of the flashbacks that they do at the beginning of the episodes, do you remember them doing any with Mance recently?
It hasn't come up recently.
Yeah.
So, getting back to the story, we have sort of the things going on all at the same time. We've got the giant and the mammoth attacking, which causes, or once the mammoth runs away, but the giant is all of a sudden able to just lift the gate, which I didn't try the first time.
Well, no, I mean, the issue was he lifts the gate, but then it just slides back down again. They wanted to pull the gate out so that they didn't have to keep it lifted. The mammoth was trying to rip it off.
Right. I was just saying that one of them could lift it, and, you know. Anyway, but that causes John to send Gren down to protect the inner gate. At the same time, Pip has died. Sam is trying to figure out what's going on. When Gren gets down, Sam is there, and he's like, "Oh, good, more help." And he's like, "No, we got to go. We got to go to the inner gate." And he's like, "Damn it!
We got to John.
Go talk to John." So. Go ahead.
Let's cover just for a moment the fact that they took just an extra beat in that bit where John sends Gren down to defend the gate, where there's this not directly spoken but definitely understood moment between them of, like, you need to hold this gate. You know, defend it with your life if you have to. It's that important. And I think that really being conveyed between the two of them, this understanding that John knows full well, I might just be sending him to his death right now.
Mm-hmm.
But it has to be done, and having that be something that's understood by both people. And I thought that was nice that they took just a slight extra beat to make sure that we knew they both understood that.
Agreed.
They really did a beautiful job, I think, with those interplays. I know we've said it 100 times, but Jesus, amazing, really amazing.
And then we have the important story point of Sam telling Ollie, you got to get this elevator up and down. And as he's leaving, hey, grab a weapon, get in the fight. And of course, he's later is the one that kills Ygritte. So
that was actually the one thing in the episode I wasn't sure I was a super fan of, honestly.
I loved it. He saw his parents butchered.
Yeah, I mean, it was Ygritte that killed. That
you know what I mean?
Killed,
Yeah, well, so I get that, but like, first of all, even when it just happened with Sam right there, I couldn't help but think it's like, you just told him, send me up to the top, then when we give the signal, bring us down.
Oh, yeah.
And then pick up a weapon and go fight. So it's like, wait, is he supposed to wait until you give the signal and then bring you down and then go fight? Or what? Because you kind of just gave him conflicting.
Well, I sort of took it. I sort of took it as you need to defend yourself, not just sit there and be scared. There's a
instructions were not clear to an untrained, panicking little boy.
To a little boy from exactly, yeah.
I thought the more important thing was just how he did, like with Pip, twice. He calmed him down. Like he had the jitters before the battle, and he did the talk.
I liked that. That was a quibble, but also just this idea that I didn't buy that the kid would be able to fire an arrow with the effectiveness and distance that we're talking about to actually be lethal. He's not trained.
He said in an earlier episode he was the best shot in his village. So
I don't care. I would have rather it had just been a stray arrow from some random person. I would have to take out Ygritte. That would have worked better for me.
Believability, I agree.
Yeah,
I kind of cathartic-wise, I'm glad the kid got to take out a wildling that may not have been the one that butchered his parents, but was one of the wildlings that attached it.
Ygritte was the one that killed her father with the arrow through the neck. So,
and I kind of thought in this scene, like when later on, I totally thought it was going to be Sam that was going to kill her. I thought it was going to be an arrow from Sam, and so when that happened, I was like, "Whoa, wait a minute! That is not where I thought this story was going."
Yeah. So this is
now that PG mentions that he was the greatest shot in his village. It really is all planned and stacked up to happen, so that's kind of interesting.
Well,
and PG, I appreciate that callback because I did not remember that line. Did you make it up or is it real?
No, it's real. They would not let him pick up. They wouldn't let him pick up a sword, and he said, "But I was the best shot in my village."
That's right. Okay, you're See, bow down.
I'm not making this a big deal, but I will.
But you won't let it go.
As soon as you say it's not a big deal, it's a big deal. I'm kidding.
Well, I do want to just say though that just like as someone who sometimes writes things. This idea, it was all planned from the beginning. I think the way this was planned from the beginning is we were thinking, we're writing episode 9. Who should we have kill Ygritte? Oh, I know. Maybe we could have it be the kid. So let's go back to episode whatever and add a line where he says, I'm the best shot in my village in order to support this later. So it's like planning it in advance. I think that was a perfect example of they planned that retroactively.
No, I got to say, if you're going to take out a character as beloved as Ygritte, I think that the best way that they're going to be able to get viewers that love her to be okay with it is for there to be some catharsis or something positive to come from it. Even if all it is this little kid feels a little bit of vengeance for his dad. You know what I mean? Or, I saved somebody.
I hope that makes it work for everybody else.
It does for me.
It doesn't pull it off for me. I think what it might do, this is the last thing I'll say on this particular subject. The only thing that it does for me is it seems like maybe they're trying to establish Ollie as an ongoing character, and so in that sense, maybe I'll there will be further development with this kid. I hope so. Because to me, that's really the only reason to give him this particular kill.
What were you going to say, Chooch? There was something you were going to say a minute ago.
I don't think so.
I think so.
Well, then I'll take Chooch's moment here. I actually didn't find it cathartic that he got to kill those that killed his parents. I actually found it kind of sad.
Okay.
First kill. Like, this is a little boy, right?
Yeah.
And he just killed someone.
Yeah.
Like,
he
that's
did.
a huge
Before
deal.
they killed him.
How long does it take Arya to be okay with the fact that she's killed people and then starts killing more people?
She'll never be okay with it. You're never. I don't think a child can kill somebody and be okay, but I think that that's what's going to help him get through the present time, which is grieving his family, helping these people fight, get food cooked and feed the soldiers and heal the soldiers that are injured before the next crop of people come to try and kill him again. So it's like Arya, where it's a survival thing. It's not ideal. I'd love to have Ilan Payne come in and do it instead, but I think it gives, catharsis to some people, me, and it was never going to be, I don't think there was ever going to be a way that they were going to show Ygritte's death and have the viewers be okay with it, because she was beloved. And since they didn't do it like they did in the book, which I guess, can I say now what they did in the book was that it was, they found Ygritte later and she was dead and Jon didn't know who killed her. They didn't have that sweet moment of, we didn't get that in the book. It was just, it was over, Ygritte's dead, and Jon was sad, and we moved on. And that was all
he knew nothing.
He knew less than normal, yes.
And also, Jon remembers firing a shot and seeing someone with red hair go down and thinking, was that Ygritte?
That's right.
And when they find the body later, he still doesn't know if he's the one that did it or not. So Jon's dealing with the fact that he killed Ygritte. Like, that's the whole different thing. Like, he fires the shot, he sees the red hair go down, and he's like, did I just kill Ygritte? Yeah. And whereas in this, like, he freezes, she freezes, and then she ends up getting killed. Yeah. So, like, there's none of that, I'm about to kill the woman I love, or any of that, and then he just gets to sob with her and be a little emo. But that's okay.
In the book, at least, after they find her, he notices that it wasn't one of his arrows that was in her, so at least that part of it, but still,
initially he did, though. She's right, I'd forgotten about that part.
No, before they found the body, that he was...
Yeah, well, even then, though, I think there's still that realization of it just as easily could have been him.
Yeah, right. Totally.
So even if it wasn't, that's not really solace, because he did kill many of her colleagues, and it could have been her just as easily as it was anyone else.
And he probably did aim at her at some point and didn't even ever realize it. It was,
Yeah, so, and going back to the kid in the bow, though. No, I'm just playing.
We didn't get your opinion, PG. How do you feel about it?
No, I will agree with Christiana. I would have liked the scene better if the kid had established that he had a bow the entire time, and he was just sort of cowering in fear, and Sam sort of calms them down and talks him into, hey, you need to defend yourself, what have you, because when they just said, and get yourself a weapon, and then they showed the bow, I'm like, okay, well, he's going to obviously kill somebody. Didn't know it was going to be regret at the time, but, it wasn't, it was, a little too ham-fisted rather than have it a little more natural. It was sort of TV must establish the pistol on the wall so that it will be fired in a few minutes.
Yeah.
So.
And I'm just going to point out, we've got Nicole in the chat saying that she calls bull on Ygritte freezing and not shooting him. I don't know, too predictable. I kind of agree with Nicole on that. That was one of my gripes was, she already did the freeze on Jon thing. Like, she had prepared herself. She should have done something.
But
what were you going to say, Chooch?
I thought that his reaction, she probably wasn't expecting that smile. He was so happy to see her. And then I think that, gave her pause, taken aback, like, shit. She probably thought he'd be pissed because, she almost killed him.
And I also thought it was, you got me, take me out because, you got me. And then
I'm not gonna hurt you.
Yeah, maybe even a little bit of, like, he's been thinking he's probably gonna die in this battle for days now, and so this idea of, like, you would almost want it to be her if it's going to be anyone.
Yeah. Oh, that's
So
nice.
it's like almost a way to say he's sorry. I will not run away. I will just let you do what you feel like you need to do.
Yeah.
And
it really doesn't matter all of this because he had his head put into a fucking anvil, and he really should not have been conscious at all.
No, he should have been at least a
Especially
little.
when they show him and he has no damage to his face. When right after it happened, he had blood flowing out of his mouth. That was the only quibble I had with the whole evening. But yeah.
See, your explanation kind of ruins the whole joke I was gonna make about when she said the smile. I'm like, oh, so you're a sucker for the Jon Snow smile too, then, huh?
Wow.
It was shining.
That's interesting because it was this episode that I just finally decided once and for all I just don't think he's that cute. I think I'm the only person on the planet. Everybody else is just.
Really? This episode, he finally was Jon Snow. Finally.
I agree with Nutty, and you never thought you'd hear me say it. I thought he was actually Jon Snow in this episode.
Because for the longest time, I'm like, he looks like Jon Snow, but he's not Jon Snow. He looks like Jon Snow, but and this episode, it was like, there he is. He's Jon Snow. This is how the character is. He is owning it. I am so happy.
You know what I feel like right now?
Maybe after next episode when it.
You feel like the tables have completely turned here, Christiana?
No, it's just like when you guys are saying like, finally he's Jon Snow. Finally, I like him. I feel like having someone who watched the whole season of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. all along and was liking it all along, even as everyone else was saying they hate it. And then finally everyone loves it again, and I'm like, welcome back, you guys. I've been here all along.
Yeah, we haven't talked about that. I started watching Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and it actually turned out to be okay. Wow.
It was awesome for a couple of episodes there, but I stick with my original opinion. The ending of that season I thought was well done.
Yeah, well, no, I mean, I agreed that it got better, but my point is really just I feel like I'm maybe the only one in the group who has really kind of liked the character all the way through. I will agree there were times when he was not as likable as other times, but I always felt like that's what he had to go through. He had to go through being that person in order to get to where he's going. And it always felt like a legitimate part of his maturation process and the development of his character and who he's going to become. So in fairness, there's a little bit of like knowing what happens in the books that gave me the ability to look past some annoying things because sure, he's annoying now, but he has to go through this in order to learn these lessons in order to be awesome, more awesome later. But even still, I guess I just always I never felt the annoyance that a lot of people claim to feel about
I just haven't got that he's the Jon Snow that I love from the books. He's not even a pale shadow of him, so maybe that's my problem. And totally unrelated, but I mean I understand character development and I don't always like characters, but or they might do distasteful things that I don't approve of, but normally that's not a problem for me. I can still adore the character because human, fuck-ups and mistakes and learning and stuff, but he still hasn't. I don't blame the actor. He's a fine actor. He's a strong actor. I don't know what it is. It just still doesn't do it for me.
I'm tired of waiting. There's a couple of more people commenting on just that whole sequence in the Q&A.
I like Nicole's.
Yeah,
Snow is hot when he's not whiny.
Yeah.
He is hot when he's not whiny.
And then also saying, Nicole is saying, but I thought in the book she did get to say, nothing one more time to him. She was shot but dying. That's kind of how I remembered it too, but I wasn't going to call you on it because I wasn't sure. I thought that was what it was too, is that he finds her and she is dying of the arrow wound. But the battle is already over, which is why it makes more sense just in context with Mike McCauley's comment saying, a little bit nitpicky, but am I the only one who thought Ygritte's death scene with Jon was a little too public? I would think that at least one of the wildlings would notice him in the prone sitting duck situation and attacked more off to the side maybe. And so just this idea that...
Well,
go ahead, behind the wall.
Well, yeah, but still, I mean...
The shot where we see them... the shot where we see him holding her as she's dying, we see people still actively fighting in the background of that shot.
I thought when she sees him, he's still like behind that wall over by the smithy area.
Mm-hmm.
So like I thought, okay, but yeah, when you're right, when he's holding her and she's dying, I think they are outside of the wall.
Clearly she was exposed because she got shot, so maybe he was blocked and then he ran.
Well, but let's not forget, my friends, that she put down the big death threat to the Thens. Anybody gets between me and taking out Jon Snow, I'm going to kill you fuckers. Who do you think was really going to jump in front of her to kill Jon?
I don't know that anyone took her seriously at that. I think that the Thens were right on the money when they accused her of talking so much because she was really actually conflicted inside.
Well, yeah.
Well, right, but I just, as a result, I don't think any of them took even remotely seriously her threat about, like, no one else better kill him. I think they were...
I was
immediately
kidding there.
Besides, she's also, other than, like, none of the Thens actually even know what he looks like. Because they weren't there yet.
Well, maybe Tormund painted a really good picture for them. He's like, all right, so when you see this mopey looking boy with like long black emo hair and that dazzling smile.
Yeah.
Well, yes. Sheriff Bullock says that maybe we need for Jon Snow to win Viv over, or what we need is to see him descending from a staircase wearing Sansa's feathered dress.
Ooh, that might work. No, I just...
And
he wouldn't make a good Sansa for me.
Snow is hot when he's not whiny. So,
Nicole and I are like this.
Let me just say, logistics of the actual arrow firing and so on aside, I really... Just the Jon Ygritte relationship was always one of the ones that I really cared about from the books, and I felt like I think the show handled it even better than the books did for my taste.
I agree with that.
Having her, like, obviously Oberyn's death last time was more shocking because this one was just so obviously doomed. I mean, it's like when you buy a ticket to Romeo and Juliet, you don't expect a happy ending. So this one was just so obviously doomed from the start, but at the same time, just because the ending doesn't mean you don't cry when it comes. So I really...
Exactly.
It was very moving for me.
Well, especially because the way they've been doing things, we don't know exactly what they're going to do because they have made some changes. Mm-hmm. And so we knew what was going to happen, but like for me with Oberon, it's like, are they going to change this part of it or something? You just really never know what direction I think they're actually going to go in.
Yeah.
And Nicole makes the point that as far as Ygritte pausing before shooting, that's the TV rule. Oh, I'm sorry, about nobody noticing that Jon was with Ygritte when she was dying. That's like a TV movie rule of war. No one can interrupt an emotional scene during a battle.
Yeah. So that and her freezing in the first place were both just kind of tropes that I, felt like I'm willing to forgive because of the emotions involved, but it's absolutely true that I don't think people would really do that in the heat of battle.
I will disagree with that because I think that a lot of tropes exist because people behave like that. I totally see the love that she had for him, and then when he froze or smiled at her, or whatever it was you guys said, that it kind of caught her off guard because she does really love. I think it was all plausible, their reactions. As human reactions in a battle, I think it was all plausible.
Except that doing that in a real battle would get you immediately killed. That's the problem, and I think that's why people would still not do that, even if that might normally be their instinctive reaction.
Well, yeah.
I'm not saying she would have just fired on him. I'm saying she wouldn't just stand there with a frozen look on her face, still going like this, and just not doing anything and just standing there. That I feel like, especially the way she's been acting up to that point. Although, as Baron of Hell mentions, did you notice Ygritte was killing people that looked like Jon? I did notice that too.
I didn't notice
several
that.
of the people, she killed a handful of people, and there was one shot in particular where might as well have been Jon's stunt double that she shot in the back.
Wow. Yeah, I didn't pick up on that at all.
That many crews that look like him, like that many people with the
long dark
black
hair. I mean, that's like
far in the background for during all the other shots.
Oh, thank you, Mike.
Rockin' specs, Mike.
Yeah,
says.
my old lady This is,
Those do not look like old lady glasses.
Aw, thank you.
Those are awesome.
So let's see. What else did we want to talk about? Did we get everything? We had the sort of the end of the battle on the wall, which actually had a good spectacle moment, but I just didn't like it all that much. Was the scythe? The scythe thing. Not the just that it was so large and it just pops out of the wall.
Was it too big for you, baby?
It was
Just the tip.
That's in the book, isn't it?
You know, I couldn't remember that. I didn't remember.
They have an elevator.
Yeah.
I totally forgot about it, but when it pops out of the wall, it reminded me. I was like, oh my God, I forgot all about that. But yeah, and the reason why it's in the wall is because it's frozen, and then they crank it back up, and like it is their last defense for if people get high enough.
Yeah, and it makes perfect sense for a threat that they know is a likely thing that they climb up over it.
Up and down the wall, like you go those lengths. There's enough of them so that they can do that anywhere.
Yeah.
Okay.
Fucking brilliant.
There we go.
Your argument is invalid.
I just thought it looked a little cheesy, but not cool, but sort of cheesy. Just the size of it and the way that it went.
The severed hand still hanging onto the ice hook was a little cheesy.
Yeah, that was a little.
I laughed out loud. I lolled. It was very.
I had one quick question when Slint runs into the larder and sees Gilly there.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Look on his face, was it shame because she saw him being a chicken, or I thought there was kind of a lascivious look. I thought she might have gotten raped down there because he thinks he's going to die and
that's
everything's
interesting.
I have
about
that fear
to end.
myself.
So you didn't. Your thought was your. So did you think that he was? Okay, I got you.
I thought he was contemplating it.
Yeah.
I was more the other way. I thought I was more worried for her safety because he ran in, saw her.
Mm-hmm.
She would know he was,
Yeah, that was
hiding, and even he was too scared to even do that. He just hid in the corner or whatever.
Yeah.
I was very happy to see that.
And of course, remember,
I'd like to see the scene. She may have popped him on the head or something.
You know
of
what?
course,
Though?
remember, this is the same guy that killed multiple babies in King's Landing when during the orders of
But Gilly is not a baby.
No, but she had a baby.
I know. I'm just saying. I would even if Slint randomly had it in his head to try to do something, I think Gilly could take him, honestly.
I think so
Here's
too.
what happened when I watched it. And PG, I agree with you. A baby killer will kill a woman and a baby. I agree with your baby killer point. It was in him. But it was funny because when we did the first watch going through and there's all this stuff going on, I swore that when Sam went in there and saw Gilly, when they first showed Slint, that he had a big black gouged eye, like a fucked up face. And so when we did the rewatch, I froze it and then I backed it up and I watched it again, and I didn't see any damage on his face. And so when the door opened and Sam came in and he looked over at Slint, I thought he saw that Gilly had beat the shit out of him for trying to kick her out or because he's embarrassed or whatever. And then when we rewatched, it hadn't happened. I just really wished it had, because she grabbed that fucking piece of meat so fast to hit Sam. She was ready. I swear. I think you're right. I think she had to defend herself, Chooch.
I'm very curious to see what the brothers do to him because he's essentially a deserter. He didn't leave the premises, but
he deserted for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I didn't get that sense at all that he was going to attack her or do anything to her. To my mind, or at least the way I read it, I was just literally this idea of he was ashamed that someone caught him and now is going to know that he was going in there to hide.
For me, with Slint, that means he might try to hurt her. But yeah, I think he was just trying to hide. Just don't let me die here.
My favorite bit about this is he had such shame. Oh my God, she's going to know, and yet he still stayed there.
Yeah.
Like he never got the courage to leave and actually join the battle.
He went and curled up fetal under some cans or something. I don't know. It was adorable. He looks so scary.
So C. Madrigal in the Q&A says, sorry, Christiana, this is drama, not reality. Done for effect, and as they say, sometimes time slows down in an otherwise hectic scene. I agree 100%. I was just joking that it is a trope. It is a drama trope. It is not realistic. I liked how it played out in the show. I was just saying it's a drama trope, not realistic. That was my point. So
Right on,
I liked
sister girl.
how it played. The only thing about it that I didn't like was I would have rather it even just been some random stray arrow that that took her out rather than the kid. That part didn't work for me. But the fact that she freezes, the fact that they get to have the death moment, I didn't mind those because drama tropes exist because they're effective emotionally, even if they're not realistic.
Yeah. The other kind of nitpick I had was the giant in the tunnel. They see him, he's coming in, and then he's walking, and then he's running, and then he's there. And I'm like, that guy's got a bow. And somebody said we shot 20 arrows in him. Shoot him in the fucking eye. So what if you shot 20 arrows? You're just going to sit there and watch?
Yeah. I agree.
We got the film. They just didn't come with bows, so they didn't.
There was a guy that had a bow.
There was one guy, but
they had to psych themselves up.
I would have been shooting. That's all I'm saying.
They were all on the verge of panicking, and Gren had to psych them up. And it wasn't until they got through their oath that they were actually ready to go. And by then,
that's true. I guess.
I agree with you.
Time you actually see a giant.
Exactly. That's what I was.
Paralyzing.
Yeah. Exactly. That was up until now they were considered to be like grumpkins and what was the other thing?
Snarks. Yeah.
Yeah. Which I don't know why we can't use that word. Okay, but more often. But it's one of those things when you do see a giant, when you do see a mammoth, it is going to make you kind of shit your pants a little. So Grin had to wipe their little butts, put some powder on it, and then come after him. But I thought his speech I thought he was one of the best motivational, like, pre-battle speeches. That was fantastic.
Once again,
really, all he had to do.
Excellent use of the oath.
That was it. That was all. It was the same thing that brought John back, and it got all the. I mean, fucking. Can we talk about which giant this was in the books?
We can't talk about it, but I don't think it was him.
Okay.
So.
Well,
they didn't say it. They didn't.
But I don't think it's him.
There was no descriptor at all for him in the closed captioning that I could see. Did you see anything, PG? I mean, all I did was go.
There's if you look on IMDb, they credit one of the giants with one of the names that I recognize from the book. I have no idea. I don't remember enough to know if it's what you were talking about.
I thought the implication on screen was that both of the giants we saw were killed. One with the ballista spear on the other side of the wall, and then the one who was trying to break through the gate died in the attempt, even though he managed to take all the others with him.
Yeah.
All the other, the crows with him. That was the implication I got in the show. So I don't think either of them is any more notable a giant other than just the role that we're seeing in this episode. That's my impression. I don't, obviously we don't know for sure how they're
and it's not like Mance was in the battle, or it's not like other real notable people were.
Well, so here's actually. Sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say that this was how they did it in the book too. That we didn't know what happened until later. And one thing, and it's like the Ygritte and John scene. We didn't get any details like that in the book, in my opinion. I'm sure I'll be called out wrong, but we didn't get that big poignant moment with them, and it was more off to the side because battle. But I think. Between the two scenes, I would have rather have seen the giant scene. Is that bad? I think that must have been a badass scene, that fight scene in the under the gates. Nobody feels cheated about that except me.
I don't know. I
think it was
But I think it the one problem is it could have ended up looking cheesy. So the only thing I was thinking in my head is, I hope when they fight the giant, it doesn't look like bad CGI or bad forced perspective. And then when we didn't see it, I was like, you know what, that was a great way of handling it. Yeah. Because also it kind of leaves that whole idea in the back of your head. Well, what happened? What happened? And then that. Yeah, and then you get it at the end.
The main point for me was that it worked really well, not knowing and then having them walk upon them and seeing.
Oh my God. Wasn't it awesome that John and Sam found Gren though?
Yeah.
And that it was
well that we got to
that he
we
saw
got the
how
closure
loyal
there.
he saw how loyal Gren was, and he stayed and he died, but he made sure the giant didn't get through, and he never let John down. I just love that so much about him.
Yep.
Yeah.
So we can go back and talk about other stuff, but the the way the episode ends, we'll come back to.
Well, yeah, that's what I was going to talk about next, was just how the episode ends, which is
Yes. So
I have a quarrel with how the episode ends. I feel like I understand why they're doing it that way, just because I think they want to take more time with what happens in the next stage of this storyline. But I felt like the next big thing that happens in this particular storyline would have been a better place to end the episode. Now, it would have meant we would have had to cut some aspect of what we saw in this episode, but I don't know, it just would have felt like a better... I would have rather had more closure to this storyline rather than the cliffhanger ending, but my guess is it's just because they want to take more time with the next part.
Right. The one thing I do like about how, and the way they ended is John leaving to saying he needs to go find Mance because there's no way they can hold the wall for more than however long, because they're going to come back and they're still outmanned 1,000 to 1, etc. The big change from the book in this is that, mentioned earlier, Alliser Thorne wasn't at the wall at this time. He arrives like right after this, and this is when people in power actually make a decision about John. Oh no, you're a traitor. You were with them before, and I think they put him in jail or in a cell for several days, and then it's sort of their idea to send him out and to attempt to assassinate Mance, whereas in the show it's his own decision to say, okay, well, the only way that we can maybe save people is for me to do this dumb thing, and so I did like it was more of him. One of the ideas in the show is that, or this episode, obviously, Watchers on the Wall, is showing how all of these characters have matured and become real Watchers on the Wall, and him being able to make that decision that it may be the only way to save them, I thought was good.
And I really liked the exchange between him and Sam, just that whole bit of, I agree, it's a bad plan. What's your plan? And you can see in his face, he's kind of saying, I actually do hope that you'll have something better, because I'm not looking forward to this. But if you don't, then...
I love that it went right back almost to the very beginning of how John and Sam were. It was like they had this, shorthand. It was like, cut through the bullshit. Well, this is what you got. You know what I mean? It was so adorable.
And the whole bit about handing off his sword, I mean, that was really sweet.
Oh, God.
I don't want to mess up this scene, but we totally skipped something that...
No, so yeah, we can definitely go back and talk about it.
Ghost.
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
I need him more than I need you.
I know.
And I'm sorry, Ghost was like epic boss out there tearing up the wildlings. Why didn't I bring that up when PG said how did they win? That's how they won. They had Ghost.
Ghost sneaking and taking them apart.
Although it was a little disappointing. Okay, Ghost kills one guy and then just chews on him for the rest of the battle. It doesn't go attack anybody
he
else.
killed other guys. It
He
was
was hungry.
Sure.
Are you kidding? They say how difficult it is to film with the wolves.
No, I agree. I just thought it was funny that he did come out to kill that one guy. It was great.
No, I'm with you on this one, PG. I love the moment. I'm not complaining per se, but they did only show him kill just the one guy.
They did show him the one time, though, right? There wasn't any more. It was epic, but it was...
It was cool, but it was just the one guy, and so we didn't get this sense that he was just tearing a swath through the wildlings. It was more like he was, another player joins the battle.
Yeah.
So
changing the tide.
Yeah.
Hey, we all assume that's what's going on because we know Ghost.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
I'm sure he was just behind a wall or something.
I do, yeah, exactly. It was behind a wall. I do wish we got to see more of, if they could have just done a bunch of wildling stuffies and shot it from overhead or something, just let them chew up a bunch. I don't know, something. It would have been great, but they didn't. So
yeah,
I was just really excited. And in my head, it was the whole idea of when they locked up Ghost, and it's like, oh, he needs to be caged, and he pulls out the keys, and before he even says anything to Sam, I'm like, that's right, you don't cage a direwolf, you need a direwolf in the middle of a battle. Why wasn't he out already? Stupid Alistair Thorne. Yeah.
Yeah, I did. We've sort of mentioned it, but the whole Alliser Thorne being pulled into the wall, into the little, cubby area, sort of like the end of Phantasm, when the kids pulled into the mirror. I was just like, okay, well, that's sort of, it just looks sort of silly. Not that they wouldn't want to try to save the commander or the acting commander, but it was just sort of funny. Defend the wall as he's being pulled down.
Yeah, he was the one character that we didn't get a definitive closure on for this episode, because we see him wounded and then pulled off the field of battle, not dead at the time that we last see him, but we don't ever get a follow-up with him in this episode, other than we do have John saying who's around to give orders to Sam, which we kind of feel like, well, shouldn't it still be Thorne? Shouldn't you at least consult him before you do this whole new thing?
Maybe he's in a coma, so cannot respond. Mike, you may have asked this other question, or maybe you did. We were talking about were there any other episodes spent the entire time at one location? We said that we think Blackwater was the only one, and that was at King's Landing the whole time.
And even then, it was still more diverse locations, because we had, outside the walls, we had inside the throne room, we had inside the Red Keep,
the boats,
various other. Yeah, so there was more different things than that we were still seeing on screen, even though it was still all one event.
Right. And for those who don't watch us live, you are missing out on all the great conversation in the Q&A, like what's more important for a future home, a scythe or a moon door, or both. So you really should come out and join us on Wednesday nights when we're doing this.
I would totally want the scythe instead of the moon door, because I would totally accidentally fall through the moon door. I just know it.
I would totally fall through the moon door. I was thinking the same exact thing. Plus, the scythe is just a big anchor, and I know how to use those.
I want a moon door with a bungee.
I'm down, Chooch. We're totally doing that.
Nice.
Yeah, you guys have fun.
I did, do you think we're going to get any history on giant attacks on the wall? Because it looked like, so they're, doing shit. They're trying to get the wall, get Mammoth to pull it, and then the one giant gets shot, and it pisses the other giant off, and he's able to fucking lift the gate. Is he the first giant in history that's been able to lift the gate unassisted? I mean, it seems like there should have been, Nutty, talk to me about the history of the wall and giants, because this was way too fucking. Yeah, he was pissed and grieving for the dude.
I don't think we have too much information about giants attacking the wall. I mean, there's text about giants, but again, it's all still kind of in the sense that they're possibly not real.
Mm-hmm. For instance, you get the whole thing with Osha, who, she takes one look at Hodor, and she's like, oh yeah, you got giant blood in you. And of course the Northerners, they take that as like joke or slang or turn of phrase, and she's like, no, there's a giant down in the back of your history. There's a giant somewhere. So I don't really think that they go too into detail about giants attacking the wall that I can think of. Somebody can correct me.
That sounds right to me, too, is just that the idea that if there have ever been giants attacking the wall, it's been so long ago. Because one of the things they do establish is that even up north of the wall, the giants mostly kept to themselves and did not actually interact very much with the rest of the people, other than the fact that now, because of the added threat up there, it's just like Mance's whole thing. He is uniting all of these different peoples that usually would have had nothing to do with each other. And so I think my guess is it has just been a long time since any giant actually tried to do this. And again, what I was going to say is just that it's one thing to be able to lift it, but you see what he had to do as soon as he kind of crawled under it, it just slammed shut again. That's not practical for an actual assault. They need to get the gate gone, not just lifted.
Yeah.
And
you had 2 giants get a log, you just lift it, prop it up.
Right.
And
Well,
good to
the
go.
plan was the mammoth, but
Yeah.
that's still probably the plan because,
Right.
as John said, they have more mammoths, they have more giants. Those are not the only 2.
And Nicole, lets you know, Christiana, that you can just wear a parachute all the time and you'll be okay with your moon door.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, I changed my answer then.
Okay.
You can
I
come
still don't
test ours
change
out
mine.
first if you're comfortable with it, though.
I don't like heights. I still don't change my answer.
Ooh, I don't like heights either. That's more fun, though. Like, it's the scary part that's fun, right? Am I wrong? Am I the only one that really likes being that scared?
I think there's a lot of people that like being that scared. There are just 2 things that I'm not so keen on, and that's enclosed spaces and heights. So for me, like, I'm okay with being up high as long as I don't have to look down. So I'm good. So the moon door would make me look down too much. And and the anchor would be cool because, I mean, like, yeah, I'm looking down, but I'm watching it move and just kill all my enemies. So that's okay too. I don't have to worry about falling over with it.
Yeah.
There you go. Okay, so did anybody else have any notes that we didn't hit or things that we didn't touch upon?
Well, the ending of the battle, as I'm watching it and wondering how they're going to get out of it, and I thought for sure that the Brothers Without Banners were going to charge in to help because, like, wasn't it last season that they said, let's get our asses to the wall? That was a long time ago.
Yeah.
Well, wasn't the whole there? I'm actually not sure I remember correctly, but at the time, wasn't there argument for going to the wall specifically to take Arya there because her brother is there?
Yeah.
I think that was the reason they said that they were going to go to the wall.
But somebody else talked about
Melisandre said, "Oh, hey, priorities have changed." So I thought for sure they were going to leave, but then they kept showing them at home. So I guess Stannis nixed that.
Yeah.
We haven't seen any follow up with them since Arya got away from them. So that is a valid question of just what have they been up to because they were still doing stuff.
Yep.
I thought they had got the memo and they were concerned about it, but I could be misremembering.
The memo, the Raven. What else sticks out to you, Chooch?
Well, like I said, overall the episode was good, but it certainly wasn't my favorite. I didn't think there was any way we were going to be able to talk about it for a couple hours, because to me it was just it's just a big fucking battle. It was like there were some great things to see. I like to see some of the wall defenses and I don't know. I guess for me it was more or less a straightforward battle episode. So I definitely felt different about Blackwater. Blackwater had me riveted, and I could watch it over and over. And this one, I was bored during the second viewing.
Well, a lot of people just aren't as interested by the stuff happening up at the wall. Is that kind of how you feel, or?
Oh no. I'm really curious, and of course Bran's journey and all this, and it is such. Literally, Westeros is in peril. They get through that tunnel, and now you got wildlings that are going to go through and raid the countryside, and then you're going to have the White Walkers just walk on through. So, I'm definitely invested in the wall, and I like the characters, but I don't know. It was good. It
just on that note, I want to read something I saw on Google Plus earlier today. Not because I especially agree with the specific point of view, but just because it's by a very funny guy that I like, and he says it in a funny way. Let's see if I can find it. I'm not seeing it now because my Google Plus is confusing.
Well, while you're doing that, I'm going to read this comment from Sheriff Bullock. I think it's cute. Not cute. Cool. You can close and lock the moon door. Not that Mommy Dearest did that. A scythe is just messy. There will be parts everywhere. Have fun cleaning that up.
Oh, Sheriff Bullock, don't you understand? The parts are just there to ward others off, to be set as an example. When I kill a mosquito, I don't get rid of it. I just let it sit there.
You put its little head on a toothpick, and you leave it out for the other mosquitoes to see.
Like,
girl, that's what we do around here.
Okay.
And so I found it. So this was hat tip to Dave Slusher who
Ooh, Dave.
posted it, but he's actually quoting the comedian Paul F. Tompkins, who is amazing.
It's very funny.
But anyway, so Paul F. Tompkins apparently is not a super fan of the stuff that happens at the wall. So here's the quote. He says, "Anybody wearing black fur and standing in snow, I don't give a fuck about. What are they still talking about? Every episode we have to take a detour while those guys say, this is the worst. I know, it's terrible. We'd better do something. We can't do anything. We should do a thing." So that's it. But so even though I don't share his apathy related to the Watchers on the Wall, but
funny as shit.
That's fantastic. I think that's what people at King's Landing think, though.
Yeah.
I think so too. None of them give a shit. It's all Grumpkins and Snarks. Hey, I remember that time.
And yeah, we had. Forgot I was gonna say you threw me off there with your Grumpkins and stuff.
My Grumpkins and my Snarks threw you off.
Oh, I was gonna say.
Oh man, that feels like it needs to be a rap or something. My Grumpkins and my Snarks and my Grumpkins and my Snarks. Like it needs to be a sequel to Where My Dragon's At.
Huge. Huge. Get on that.
Where my Snarks at? Snark.
I don't know. You're scaring Sheriff Bullock, Nutty. I don't know what that is.
You're scaring me, Nutty.
Wait.
Are you bouncing again or something?
No, I think it's my response to the whole moon door thing. But let me.
Oh, okay. There you go.
Up the bass for a second. Be afraid. Be very afraid. There we go.
I like Mike's comment. Free paint.
There you go. Chooch has got it. Be very afraid.
Baby. Say it, baby. Let me hear it.
Be very afraid.
Wow, that did scare me.
Yeah. I did notice they faded to white instead of fading to black at the end of the episode as John leaves. So.
Really?
Given the scene transition they're doing,
Yeah, I thought they were going to do credits in white with
white with black.
text.
That would have been pretty cool. But, yeah, and then it went black.
I wouldn't think they would do that because it actually doesn't look great when they do that.
No.
It's one thing to fade to black, but then actually trying to show extended credits on that's kind of...
Yeah. So, overall ratings? Anybody?
Ratings.
10 out of 10 tears down my cheek for egret.
Aww.
I'm not going after Christiana. Somebody else go.
Chooch?
I'm trying to decide now. I'm looking through my list. Somebody else can go, and that way I won't duplicate.
The tricky part is coming up with the rating system, isn't it? I will go, and I'll give you a 10 out of 10 direwolves tearing through wildlings. Or, wait.
Or one wildling.
10 bites out of one wildling.
Yeah, 10 out of 10 wildling meals for a direwolf.
Oh my God. 10 inches of arterial whatever for the direwolf. Now, mine was actually 9 out of 10, but only because I would have rather seen the giant scene in the tunnel than the scene with Egret and John, because that's just me.
That's fair. You are entitled to your opinion.
Will you still marry me though, Christiana? Are you going to break our engagement now?
No, it's fine. We're good.
Please, no, you said yes. And Chooch okayed it.
Well, you know, we already sent out all the invitations.
I know, right?
Chooch,
That's what we call it off at this point.
So I gave it a 7. 7 wildlings scraped off the wall.
Ooh.
Wow, that's pretty good. Yeah.
Ooh, we got some good ones in the Q&A.
Yeah. Well.
Oh wait. Let the host go first.
Yeah. No. For I would like to have given it a 10, but the one drawback that the show has is that we've seen Helm's Deep in the Two Towers, and so having this be on TV, it was probably one of the best things they could have done with this type of story and showing everything that they did and how they handled it. But yeah, just because there's, even though it's from the book, just things that you could sort of parallel to what was in the Two Towers. Sort of was, just because it came first as far as a visual medium, it sort of plays as, yeah, this is a TV show. But overall, yeah, 9 out of 10. I'll do 9 out of 10 anvils to Jon Snow's teeth.
Pretty face.
Pretty face, yeah.
Before we go on, Viv, do you have a rating for last week's?
Yeah, I'll give it to you after Chooch reads his. I'll have to find it.
It's a
I
secret.
did. I read
Oh,
mine.
Chooch
Well,
did
a couple of the other ones I had 7 gallons of piss in Slynn's trousers. And
7 gallons of piss.
wall
That is
countermeasures. Or a 7 horn blast for the biggest fire the North has ever seen.
Ooh, I like that one.
Yeah, I can see now. I was thinking of the I've seen bigger joke. What if instead we had a guy up there by himself and he sees the fire and then he looks down and he's got the handbook that says, 1 blast for rangers returning, 2 for wildlings, 3 for others, and he's like, oh no, I wasn't prepared for this.
There isn't a horn system for this.
or then he leans in to blow it and it's a siren like a fire truck.
Yeah, for some reason, yeah, we should have more horn memes out there for this.
Yeah, what's up with that, internet?
If they had shown someone blowing the horn, maybe they'd have a GIF they could do something with. But Sheriff Bullock in the chat says, first he was talking about just the episode. I'm with the Warlock. I didn't find the episode particularly interesting either. My attention flags during protracted action sequences. Blackwater was amazing because, wildfire, and awesome characters like Tyrion Braun and Drunk Cersei. And then he followed that up with 4 out of 10 needs more Drunk Cerseis. I did like that. The 4
Wow.
but
Seriously bored about the battle up there then. 4 out of 10.
I would not want every episode to be like this one, but because we don't really get that many big action sequences, I like it used sparingly like this, where it's only every so often.
And but I think that they kind of, and Nettie, I had 10 out of 10. I loved last episode.
Okay.
So, I forgot what I was going to say, though, so go ahead, somebody else.
Oh, just so you know, your 10 out of 10 brought us from a pretty low score up to 90% for last episode, and this episode is also 90%, so our cumulative. You fixed our cum for PG's.
I fixed your cum.
6 out of 10.
I fixed your cum.
I fixed your cum. You got to spell it careful, though.
Clever little
like
twat.
That needs to be a T-shirt or something.
Mike changes his score. He did start with 9.5 out of 10 hammer hats, but changed it to 9.5 out of 10 clever little twats. So.
Oh, Mike.
And Nicole, 10 out of 10 supersonic giant arrows. Yes.
Yeah.
Again, my favorite moment of the episode, the guy flying through the air, being hit by the arrow.
So good. That was hellified. So what did it... Christiana, were you the one that named the type of arrow, or was it you, Nettie, that named the arrow that killed the giant? Because I was like, that thing should be like a fucking toothpick if it was a regular bow.
The ballista?
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
That's what's
Yeah, so the thing that's like, you can't hold it in your hand. It's mounted on a platform, and it fires the giant, metal. It's like practically size of a thick spear. It's a ballista, I think.
Okay. I didn't realize what the hell it was.
I believe you're right.
That's the word that came to mind. I'm not an expert in medieval
Well, I gotta
siege
say,
weaponry.
you sold it because it rolled off your tongue and off you went. But ballista, okay, because I didn't remember that from the book, and it just was like, wait a fucking minute, that.
It's like, so it may have rolled off the tongue, but bear in mind it might also have been bullshit. Bullshit.
It's something I require in my fiancés, so it's okay.
Okay, so we had a rating. So next week, the episode name is what, Nutty?
The Children.
Very good. I love it when you get my cue. So the children. So what do we want to do for a survey contest? We can do.
How many children are in the? I'm kidding.
How many children?
While you guys are thinking of that, by the way, Christiana, it is
adults act like children. Sorry, I didn't mean to talk over you. Nutty. Go ahead.
That's okay. It's not bullshit. It does. It would be the arrow that is used in a ballista. A ballista is basically a giant war vehicle. It's a crossbow, usually on wheels. It's used to siege castles, so it makes perfect sense that that is what they would use in their arrows. So I don't know if the arrow is called ballista, but it's an arrow from a ballista, so it's not bullshit.
Well, of course it's not. I mean, I knew what I was talking about.
Yeah, clearly.
Obviously, you know.
Adam,
how dare you question me?
Between the two of us, which one of us wrote a fantasy novel? Oh, right, that would be Christiana, not me.
There were no ballistas in it, though.
So yeah, survey contest. Any ideas other than?
Oh, right.
Hopefully there's less death next week.
Number of supernatural occurrences.
Oh yeah, I like that. Either magic or dragons or.
Anything.
But yeah, stuff that couldn't happen if this was like real history.
Oh yeah.
I like that.
So White Walkers would count. Others would count.
Dragons, dire wolves are actual
visions. You know, because we're probably going to get some more from Bran.
Yeah.
Cool. I like it. So supernatural occurrences and deaths.
However you phrase it is how I will come up with.
Sam and Dean might show up.
Sam and Dean.
Sam and Dean. What did I miss?
From Supernatural.
Sorry.
Two characters from the show Supernatural.
Okay. I have not watched enough of that show.
I haven't watched it in a while either, but.
If they cameo in Game of Thrones, all of fan fiction will explode.
I was really pleased when Key and Peele cameoed on the Fargo TV show.
Oh, God. I haven't seen it yet, but I can't wait because we watch Key and Peele like relentlessly. We watch reruns for like a dozen watchings. It's such a funny show.
First I thought you said Jan and Dean, and I'm really out of
What's Key and Peele?
Key and Peele is they do a sketch comedy show. It's just they're two really funny guys.
It's Michael Keegan Key and Jordan Peele. And Jordan Peele I've seen he was in the movie Wanderlust with Jennifer Aniston and Paul Rudd, if you saw that. He was one of the guys that lived on the commune, and they're just really funny and insightful and clever and stuff.
Yeah, could say when a man makes a feces.
When a man make a feces.
Part of his soul.
This is like one of those cable things, isn't it?
Hey, it's time to end the show, people.
No, because we have to wait until 1 a.m. to pick my nephew up at the airport. We need entertainment for the next 2 hours. Who's hanging out with us?
So, do we have a second
start your own hangout.
Oh, yeah.
Our survey thing?
Deaths. Supernatural occurrences and deaths.
Have fun with that.
Wow.
You're going to be so sick of
less
counting
deaths.
Yes.
Next week than this week, so I have to count all of. Yeah, I hope so. Yeah, next week we've all been guessing at what the next episode is. It's actually just more Attack on the Wall.
Part 2.
Wall.
Night 2.
Now the children fight.
Or no, it'll be like the movie Clue. It says that's how it might have happened, or maybe it happened like this.
So the wildlings are actually going to march wildly children towards the wall to demoralize.
No,
because they have to kill them.
No.
Wow, that would rape Viv's soul.
I'm out. I'm done with the show. I quit. Sorry, I'm out.
Well, everybody, thank you for sticking around with us. Still says we have 14 viewers at the moment, which is pretty amazing at 11:30 at night.
Is that our highest?
I'm not sure. I look down at it every once in a while. I don't, and it just dropped to 13, so we got
100, right?
Ouch.
What's that? Yeah, 1,400, 14,000 advertisers. No,
14 million.
We're outnumbered 1,000 to 1.
But yeah, thanks for watching us live. For you audio listeners, we do have fun doing this live in the Q&A. So if you want to come out and join us sometime, that's great. Put us up in the background. You can still hear us talking. Don't have to watch us if that's something you don't want to do.
But if you do watch, I do put notes up to the people in the chat.
That's true, and we put up
and read it.
And we put up signs about voting for judges, and yeah. Or put up little love signs for
yeah. And don't forget to see Chooch's tongue, and you get to see me bounce, and all those things.
Exactly. But we have our survey every week. Should go up tomorrow. If you missed out on our contest, but next week we will talk about our end of season. What do you think the final scene is going to be before it fades to black? So that'll be fun. So join us next week after the season finale. Oh, did you guys want to do a after Sunday show like we did earlier?
Why don't we all check our calendars?
Okay, so we will set up an announcement and post something on the site if we're going to do a after Sunday viewing after episode 10. Otherwise, we will be on for a full show next Wednesday, no matter what. So.
May I make a quick request?
No. Okay.
Okay, so listeners and folks, please know that we have the specficmedia.com Facebook page. Please give it a like. Please share it and like it, because PG's less grumpy sometimes.
Yeah, short periods.
And this might help him be less grumpy if there's more page likes.
And there's lots of awesome stuff that you can read over at specficmedia.com. You've got every now and then there's the Eye of the Noob, there's the In Defense articles from Patman, there's the Meme Roundup, and other things that happen all year round there.
Wow, look at you guys. Chilling, I like it. And then there's this podcast called Space Casey Season 2 you should be listening to right now.
I heard that's good.
I heard it's awesome, and I heard it's awesome.
And if you haven't listened to Space Casey 1, why haven't you done that? Go back and listen to it. It's amazing.
It's short, too, so it's easy to catch up.
Oh, wait.
What?
Rory's wearing his Casey Gadettes.
Aww.
Nice.
Yeah.
I wore
Old school
mine
fan.
on.
Yeah.
I know. I'm glad you saw it too, Christiana. I had to wear my Christiana flair.
I was just going to say this is something that I've kind of floated on Google Plus earlier today, but I think what I'm going to do for the remaining episodes in Space Casey Season 2 is I'm going to start putting it out there that some audience participation, cross-examination. If you think you have found a flaw in Casey's testimony or a gap or something that she got wrong or is maybe lying about, ask the question and we'll see what Casey has to say about it. You can find out more about how to do that in the podcast notes for the next episode coming on Tuesday.
And Sheriff Bullock wanted clarification on where to send the prediction for the final frame of season.
Yes, well, I'm afraid the end of that contest submission was prior to Sunday's episode because we did not want... we wanted everybody on a level playing field. We didn't want people to see the previews for episode 10 that might give away a clue or something at the time. I don't think it probably did based on what we saw. So, Sheriff, if you want to send in your prediction, send it to btw@specficmedia.com. We'll be happy to talk about it. But as far as I'm probably going to give a T-shirt away to a winner, it'll be from the pool of people that sent it in before last Sunday. So
we'll be happy to regret your entry.
Yes, please. But that is please send in to btw@specficmedia.com. And we're very sorry that Nicole is still at work. That's not nice at all.
No. Come hang out with us, Nicole.
Yeah.
I'm unhappy.
Yes, thank you for
Help you be partially entertained.
yes.
Of course, it's also possible that if you weren't watching us, then you would have been able to be more productive and you wouldn't have to still be at work. But
it's impossible for Nicole to be more productive. Have you seen her?
Nicole could have discovered the next rogue star that's floating through the universe, and she was watching us instead. And
she's like, but I have to know the tongue color. I have to know the tongue color.
I actually need permission from Nicole to post some pictures of her in her My Little Pony costume from the party at DeltaCon. It was so cute.
We have officially jumped the shark. It's time to go.
Miss you, Nicole.
We're all rambling. So good night, everybody. Thanks for watching, listening. We'll see you next time.
Good night.
Beyond the wall.
As